Now, so today's agenda is this storage account and all. But before we are going for the today's agenda, let's have a quick overview. Just cancel this. Let's have a quick overview of what we have done last time, right? On our Saturday, Sunday, everything, compute services, all about the compute. So what we have learned. So first of all, we learn about virtual machine. What is mean by virtual machine? How to create the virtual machine? How to install the IaaS web server on it, right? So that part we understood. But here we don't have the auto scaling option. What is mean by that? Horizontal scaling is not allowed here. We only have a vertical scaling. It is like our laptop or our machine. But to give the horizontal access, or I can say that scaling part, whenever there is a load on single virtual machine, it should create a multiple virtual machines or the number of instances to support that load. We have the virtual machine scale set, right? But these are what? These are the infrastructure as a services. Now, whenever I'm saying that infrastructure as a services, you need to take care of multiple things. You need to take care of your connectivities, networking part, not a switches and routers, but who can access the virtual machine, how they can access the virtual machine, your NSGs, enabling that inbound and outbound rules. After that, you need to manage your applications. You need to install the web server on it, whatever the features you want. Suppose you want the virtual machine should act as a SQL server, then you need to install the SSMS tools on that. If you want the virtual machine acts as a web server for you, then you need to install the web server on it. So like that, as per your feature requirement, you need to install those things on your VMs, right? So here we need to manage the infra, or I can say that we can control our infra. But let's say as a developer, I'm a specific developer side from the developer side, and I don't want to spend my too much time on the configurations, maintenance, and this and that. I just want to focus on my code, then I can go for the web application. So web application is the PaaS service, which is a platform given by Microsoft with multiple features. Now, what are those features? We have multiple runtime stacks, right? So you can choose your programming language. After that, we have a connectivity with the CI/CD, direct connectivity, which is not present over here. After that, we also have the option for IDP, identity providers. Means if you are the user of Apple or Google or Skype or Twitter, then you can access the web application. Kind of configurations we can do. We also have the option for the slots, right? If you want to implement any new feature, so you can't do that on your ongoing server or on your production environment. So for that, what you need the separate environment. So here we have the slot option. So you can just implement that and then you can swap it. Also, we have a traffic manager feature within the web application. So you don't need to create a separate server service for that, right? So there are multiple other features we have for the web applications. With that, we also have the vertical scaling and horizontal scaling for web application. So those are the advantages. So whenever, if you want to create front end, let me mute Vaibhav. Okay. So if you want to create a front end, back end, then the preferred choice is web application as a developer, right? But if you are working with the legacy applications or if you want to create some customized image for you, then you can go for the VMs or the VMSs, right? After that, here we have the function app. Function app means what? It is a triggering mechanism. So it is not like that your complete web application, you can't run that whole web application onto the function app. So if you want to trigger something, if you want to manipulate, if you want to perform some actions, Small kind of action. So you can write your logic, whatever is that. Suppose there is a Facebook account and someone is uploading some picture and you want to compress that picture, or you want to make the changes on it. Maybe you want to make it as a black and white, maybe you want to create some red hue colors or anything else. So those kind of things you can just write it down in the backend, and then function will trigger whenever there is an image upload, right? So there are many more. Whenever you are doing the sign in, whenever some one application wants to connect with the other application or triggering. So wherever there is a trigger, you can use function app. But this is a code based. Means whatever you are thinking, you need to write it down. Okay? And then you can run it. But if you are not a developer, you don't know how to write the code, but you know what to do, you know the logic behind it, then you can go for the logic apps. So logic apps are already having 300 plus connectors inside that. So this is a huge amount. So Microsoft has already connected with multiple social media accounts, multiple third party services and everything here. So if you want to work freely with the connectors, instead of adding the connectivities, authentication and authorization and this and that. So suppose you can write the function inside the function app. So whenever there is a tweet on the Twitter, then it will trigger the mail. So it will send you the notification kind of things. So these things we can't do over here. We can do, but you need to add your proper connectivities for it. You need to write each and everything. But here the simplest thing is you just need to choose your connector. Okay, we need the Twitter, then I will choose the connector as a Twitter. Then I need to choose what we need. So someone is tweeting like hash something like that. Then I need to just collect that, and then I need to send it to whom? I will say that Outlook account. So you can just connect Outlook account with the Logic app and then send it. So simple. You don't need to write anything. You don't need to create the connectivities and all. Everything is inbuilt inside the Logic apps. So this is the best part of Logic app. After that, here we have the service fabric. So for the legacy applications or for the .NET applications, specifically if you want the microservices option, then you can go for the service fabric. We also have the batch services. When we are using the batch services, whenever there is a requirement of big data. Now, here, understand the thing, compute required to perform the actions. We also have a data part inside that also we are working with the batch services, right? But here we are talking about the compute batch services. So compute batch, Azure batch is the someone which will give you the compute or server which is working in the parallel part. Means what? There are multiple racks, and whenever you are saying that perform this particular action, then that action is divided into multiple parts, that batches, and it will run parallelly, right? So instead of doing it serially or one after other, we are performing that actions parallelly, so it will increase my speed of my server. So that's why batch processor are used in LLMs, machine learning, big data kind of things. Whenever we are working with huge amount of data and we need the fastest one option, then we can go for the batch services, right? Now, let's say these are the PaaS services, infrastructure as a services and all. But what if I want to go for the microservices? Simple. My requirement is very simple. I just want to create a .NET application. So .NET, we need only the SDKs for the .NET, dependencies for .NET and image. That's it, done. So if you want to do that, perform that normal lightweight server or the small virtual machine kind of thing, then you can go for the containers. But containers don't have the capacity of scaling in and out and scale up and down. So the scaling capacity is not present over here. So if you want to create a container inside the Azure, then here we have the Azure container instance. Simple, which is not having the capacity of scaling up and down and in and out. So whenever we are saying that we are migrating to the microservices, we are using the microservices, then what will happen? That microservices should scale whenever there is a high demand, right? Scale out, and whenever there is a low demand, they should scale in as well, right? So as containers or ACI are not having the capacity, that's why we are having the AKS. So Azure Kubernetes Services includes the orchestration for the containers. It will create the load balancer in front of the container. It will increase and decrease the number of instances for the container. It will work on your ingress, outgress, each and everything, policies, routing, firewalls, everything. So the AKS is the huge package which will manage your complete architecture, right? So you don't need any other things if you are using AKS. But let's say AKS is very, very powerful tool or service. But let's say I wanted to utilize AKS features, but I don't want to spend my money for it because AKS is the costlier service, right? So I need the feature, but I don't need that many services, right? Or I can say that that much power I don't require. My application is very small. If I can have my scaling in and out feature, then that is also fine, right? Just a minute. Okay, that is also fine for me. As well as if I have the features like a web application and all, so that will helpful for me. That's it, simple. Then you can go for the newly introduced Azure Container Apps. So you can use that Azure Container Apps for that. Okay. So we understood when to use what, as well as we understood how to create that and how to use that. Okay. And for the container parts, if you want to store your images privately in your Azure portal, then we have the Azure Container Registry. So these things we have done last time. Now, what we need to do next, just a minute. Hmm, okay. All right. So now what we need to do, we need to start with our next part. Okay. So let's go for it. So today what we are going to do, we are going to understand what is mean by the Azure storage. After that, what is mean by the non-relational? So Azure storage is nothing but a non-relational storage for us. Now, this is a part of AZ104 and this is a part of AZ305. So we are combining both of them and we are going through each and every aspect of our storage account. Okay. Now, once we are done, we are going to understand what is mean by the SQL database, what is mean by the Cosmos database, table storage, or no SQL databases, what is mean by data factory, data lake, data bricks, and then Azure Synapse Analytics on that, right? And here we also have the Azure Stream Analytics solutions. Now, to perform this Azure Stream Analytics solutions, we also need to introduce one more service which is called as an Event Hub. Now, what I can do, I will not demonstrate on the Azure Stream Analytics right now, because when we are talking about the Event Hub, or let's see if I can talk about the Event Hub right away, and then we can demonstrate on the Azure Stream Analytics part as well. Okay. But here, the complete demonstration and all these things, we are not going to do that. A small things, we are going to just understand what is mean by the Databricks, what is mean by Azure Synapse Analytics. Also, we have the Azure Microsoft Fabric. Also, we have Microsoft Purview, right? So those are the services, and those are costly services. But right now, all the data engineer, data scientists, whoever is working on data, Azure part, they are using the Microsoft Fabric instead of these services. Now, why? What is the reason behind that, and how it will work? So that part we will going to discuss today. And after that, we will be having the case study overview. And then before we end the session, we also discuss about the last weekend. I have given you one task for the case study. So that also we will discuss. Okay. Now let's start with the storage. Now, whenever I am saying that storage, what will comes in your mind first?
Drive.
Mm-hmm. Drive,
Storing of data.
storage. Mm-hmm. Yes. What?
Storing of data.
Storage of data.
Fetching and storing.
Data. Fetching.
Fetching, storing, deduplication.
Duplication. Okay. All right.
Backup
Mm,
things.
backup. All right. Any other thoughts? What we have? Storage means what? Where we can store our data, right? Like our drives, where we can take the backup, where we can do the duplications and all, right? So those are the terms. But in a non-technical view, storage means what? Space, where we can dump anything, right? In your house as well, there is a storage. So many things are there. So we can just store the so many stuff inside that. So I will not talk about that part, but it is kind of a space where we can dump anything. Now here, whenever we are talking about in a technical view, storage, it is kind of a space where you can dump any type of data, right? Now, whenever I'm talking about data, so data have three types. One is structured data, another one is unstructured data, and third one is semi-structured data. Now, what is mean by that? Structured means what? In terms of keys and values. I hope you have worked with that Excel sheets and all, right? It is also having columns and rows, multiple things, but it is little bit different. Structured data is looking like your table structures in your Excel sheet, but it is having the strict schema. Now, whenever I'm saying that strict schema means what? In this table, you need to add your keys and values. So keys means what?
Ma'am, are you sharing
Parameter.
PPT? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I can see the Gemini screen, so
Is it?
yeah.
Okay, let me just stop my sharing. Let me just go for share again. Okay, sorry. And then share it again. Okay,
Yes, now I can.
now you can see that. All right. So now let's go for the part again, storage. Whenever we are talking about the storage part, it is space where we can store our data, right? Now, whenever we are talking about the data, we are storing the structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data, right? Now, whenever we are talking about the structured data, it is in the terms of keys and value pair. So what is my key and value? So I can say that this table belongs to the customer information. So let's say there is an online shopping website and we are storing customer information. So what will be my key here? Maybe I can go for the name, right? Maybe I can go for the mobile number. After that, I will go for the address. Maybe I will go for some more details of that location is there, date of birth is there, or any information, right? So those are my keys. Now, inside that, what we can do, we can add our value. So name is key, value is the actual name. So I can say that Bharat, right? Then for that, this is the mobile number, this is the address, this is the date of birth. I will say that Sahil. So this is the next entry. So this is what? This is kind of a row based information. So whenever we are going for the SQL databases or the structured databases or the relational databases, then we need to go for the row based structure. Now, I will not talk too much on that row based structure, what is mean by that and all, because we will talk about it in our Cosmos DB as well. Okay. But understand that this is the structure. Now, why it is called as a structured? Because once you define initial stage only, you need to define what are your keys or how many properties you need to store. So these are what? These are the properties. So how many properties? Once you say that, okay, create a table with name, mobile number, address, date of birth, done. It means that everyone should add only these values. Even if you think about that, okay, in next few days, I will also add one more property. No, that is not allowed. So structured means once you define your structure, you can't change that structure, right? So that is what the structure, and everyone needs to follow the same structure only. So that is what we have for the structured databases or structured data. Now, when we can use that structured data and why we need that structured data. So your banking applications, whenever you are using your online shopping websites, your data, your product details, whenever you are working with your hospitals and all the hospital information, your any kind of, if you are taking the big bazaar or online shopping website or any kind of application which is having some keys and value pairs, then we are using that structured data over there, right? Now, that structured data, once we have the structured data, then what is kind of unstructured data? Unstructured data means anything which is not having the proper structure. Any example on that? What kind of data you want to store in your storage account? In your mobile storage?
Like a raw data that we want to.
file base में
Anything.
image base.
Image, files, text files. You want to store your raw data. You want to store your CSV files. You want to store your audio files, video files. Any kind of things which is not comes under the structured data is called unstructured data, right? So your images, audio files, video files, your PDFs, your CSV files, your text files, whatever is the part of unstructured information or unstructured data.
So,
Now,
ma'am, this structured data means like the database and all, right?
yes. Structured data means database, or I will not say directly with the relational data because relational database means what that we need to understand. Okay.
All right.
All right. Great. Now, after that, we have a semi-structured data. Now, whenever I'm saying that semi-structured means it should be a combination of structured and unstructured data. Your script files. So if you are writing any program, that script files are having some proper structure. That first of all, you need to define the dependencies, then you need to define this, classes, methods, and this and that, right? So like that only, inside that methods, maybe I will add one method, or maybe I will add one class, maybe I will add one dependency, or maybe I will add multiple. So within that structure, I'm sharing anything, not anything, but sometimes I will add one point, sometimes I will add multiple pointers. So like that, it is kind of a structure. Inside that structure, we are doing the unstructured things. So your script files are part of your semi-structured data, right? Now, whenever we are saying that structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and all things are there, then Microsoft or Azure will provide one service which is called as Azure Storage Account. We have Azure Storage Account. Now, Azure Storage Account is some of the service which is highly available, highly redundant, and highly secure. Now, why it is called as highly available, highly redundant, and highly secure? So that part we are going to understand now, right? Now, in your storage account, so if you are using your hard drive or you want to attach some extra drives for your laptop, how much you will go? Maybe you will go for TBs, right? Terabytes of memory. But storage account will give you near about, earlier they are providing 500 TB, but now they are increasing it to 500 lib kind of things. So let me just quickly check what is the storage for storage account. So recently they have increased that. Yes, 5 PIB. So this is a more than terabytes. So we have that bytes, then we have a MB, GB, TB, and then there is a PIB, right? So here we have the just this. Now Microsoft is providing 5 PIB data, petabytes. So it is more than a petabytes. So Microsoft is calculating in terms of gigabytes, TB bytes, PB bytes, something like that. So here we have the more than 5 petabytes of memory Microsoft is providing in storage account. So now you can understand this is a huge amount, right? So you can store so many things inside your storage account. You can easily access from anywhere, right? As per your security part, you can access it, right? So now I can also say that Microsoft giving the storage account, which is the cheapest solution. Now, why cheapest solution and how they are providing the cheapest solution? Because Microsoft will not charge you on 5 PIB of memory continuously. If Microsoft is providing 5 PIB of memory or storage, but inside that, if you are storing only 1 GB data, Microsoft will charge you on 1 GB. If you are using 2 GB, 100 MB or anything, Microsoft will charge according to that, right? So like that's why Microsoft gives storage account, which is the cheapest solution in storage, as well as your pricing is dependent on what kind of access tiers we have, what kind of redundancies we have, and so on. Now, first of all, we need to understand that inside the storage account, we have this huge memory. Now, whenever we are working with the storage account, there are two types. One is a standard one, and another one we have premium. Now, whenever I'm talking about the standard one, Microsoft give you 4 options directly. They will not ask you whether you want this or that. Microsoft will directly give you 4 options. Now, what 4 options we have? One is container. It is not your container instance or anything. It is a storage container. After that, it will also give you a queue storage. It will give you a table storage, and it will give you a file share. Right? But if you are using premium tier for the storage account, then it will ask you whether you want to go for the blob or page blob or file share. It means that if you are dedicatedly creating the storage account only for a blob with this storage, you want to create a storage account only for the blob, you can go for the premium tier. Or if you want to only go for the page blob, you can go for the premium or file share. So like that. If you want to specifically dedicate your complete storage for these things separately, then you can go for the premium tier. Otherwise, you can just go for the standard tier where Microsoft has divided these things. Here, near about we have 200 TB. Near about, it is 198 something. So that's why I'm saying that near about 200 TB info data space is for the containers. Something for the queue, tables, and file share, like that. Now, whenever we are talking about this standard tier, this is your blob storage. Blob is nothing but binary large object. So whatever we are storing is in the form of binaries. Okay. Now, when we talk about the container, right? When we talk about the container, inside the container, we are storing the blobs, right? And that blobs are having 3 types. One is a blob. Another one is a append blob, and third one is page blob. Now let's talk about what is mean by that. So blob is actually your unstructured data, your images, audio files, video files, everything. So in the backend, it is just kind of our we have kind of pixels, right, for our images and all. So like that, in the backend there are blocks. So the data will be stored in terms of a blocks, right? That's it. So this is the block storage, which is actually ideal for your unstructured data. All right. Now, another thing, we have a append blob. Append blob is ideal for logs information. Now what? So whenever, suppose I wanted to store the log files. So how it will create the log file? Every time it will generate a same kind of a log file, right? But with the different information, different logs. So today we will have the A logs. Tomorrow we will have the B logs. Then we have C logs and so on. So it should append on the previous log. So we should have a same log file, right? On that, every day, whatever the logs are generating, we need to add or append that on the previous log. So that's why whenever you are choosing that append blob, then it will go for the log files. It is ideal for the log files only, right? Now, the last part we have page blob, which is disk. Now, when you are creating your virtual machine, that time also we have created a disk, right? So we talked about the OS disk, temporary disk, or you can attach a extra disk, drives kind of things. Now that disk is managed disk. When I'm saying that managed disk means what? Let me just go for This one. So let's search for disk. So this is a service. And whenever you are having your virtual machine, Microsoft will create a disk over here. So which is completely managed by your Microsoft in the backend, right? Azure portal. But suppose let's say you want to migrate, you want to do the migration from your on-premises to the cloud. That time you can't directly create your disk inside your Microsoft Azure. You need to create a blob storage, and then inside that you need to store your information in the page blob only. So this is ideal for the disk part. And here it will only accept .vhd files, virtual hard disk. So if your disk in your on-premises is not in the form of virtual hard disk, you need to convert it. So there are multiple converters are available in a market. You need to convert it, and then you need to add it over here as a page blob, because virtual machine can only understand .vhd format. And it is storing the information in the form of pages, like our Microsoft pages, Microsoft Word file. So it is just creating in the backend in the form of pages. So like that. So that's why this is your page blob, which is ideal for disk part. So if you want to store the disk and then you want to attach it to the virtual machine, you can store it within your container page blob. Okay. So these are the things we have for the containers. Now we have a queue storage. Queue storage is nothing but a message-based solution. Queue storage is a message-based solution. Now what is mean by message-based solution?
Text.
What we can say for the message-based solutions? Your voice is breaking. Okay, so let's discuss about what is mean by FIFO. So this is what the first in, first out. Now, let's take a simple example. We all have our mobile phones. We have our messengers. Maybe you are using the WhatsApp. Maybe you are using the Facebook Messenger. Maybe you are using any other tools or applications for it. You also have a message as a service, right? Now, suppose let's take an example of WhatsApp. Suppose, let's say Weber wants to message Satya. What will happen? Weber is online, Satya is not online. Maybe due to some network issue, or maybe his mobile phone is switched off, or any other reasons are there. Weber sent that message to Satya. What will happen? If Satya is not available to catch that message, what will happen? That message will discard. So it is kind of like this. So say if some person wants to throw the ball to this particular person, right? By thinking that this particular person will catch that ball, but that person is not present over there. So what will happen? That ball will getting discarded somewhere. But this is not happening, right? So if Satya's phone is not available or not able to receive that message will remain in a queue. That message remains inside a queue and waiting for Satya to start his phone. Waiting for Satya to receive that message. And once that message received by Satya, then and then only that message will get discarded from here. So the message-based solution is a temporary storage to make sure about that the communication properly transferred in between two parties or two applications. It is not like that one person wants to talk with other person is only the message based. No. If one application wants to talk with other application, that is also a message based, right? Suppose we have our online shopping website. when you put everything into the cart and you took the decision to purchase it now, when you click on that purchase option, it will connect to the banking application in the backend. So those are two applications. Flipkart wants to connect with banking application in the backend. So to create the connectivity or to make sure about that the connectivity is proper and message will transfer properly to the next application, we have the message based solution. And here we have the FIFO mechanism, first in, first out. If message A is there, then we have a message B, message C, like that inside a queue. So storage account queue is a simple queue mechanism or the message based solution which is not having so many things. So you can store your messages, you can there are some retention periods and all, so that part we will going to discuss in some time once we understand what is mean by the storage. Okay, what we can do, we will not talk about the queue part right now because message based solution we also have one more which is a service bus. So what we can do, we can do the comparison in between both the services and then we'll perform this queue storage and then service bus. Okay, that time only I will take that. Now after that we have a table storage. Table storage, your Excel. It is a non-relational, or I can say that it is it is just kind of a storage where we have the properties and all keys and values only. But if you want to add some more rows, columns and all, you can do that anytime. So it's a simple storage in the form of table. You can store your information, data, right? Now, why we are using the tables or table storage? Whenever there is a less amount of requirement. Let's suppose you want to store your employee information and your company is not that much big. It's a small company. Then instead of spending your money on other services, I will simply go for my table storage and store the data. That's it, done. You can't go if you have a huge organization or anything, then you can't go for the table storage because here again we have the limitations. So your complete row has to be in 2 MB size. You can't add multiple properties. You have the limitations on the properties, how many columns you can add, including the primary key. You can add only 256. So there are some limitations on the table storage. So that's why we are not using it for our big applications or the organizations or to store our actual application data. So if you want to store the small kind of information or anything, you can go for the table storage. But whenever you need more than that capacity, you need to go for the SQL databases, right? So this is the table storage. Now let's go for the file share. File share is nothing but your network drive. So what is the purpose of a network drive? Can anybody tell me?
So that there is no physical transfer, there is no dependency on the physical infrastructure for storage of data and retrieval of data. It is more faster in sense.
Also, that it is shared over a network with multiple people.
Perfect. So it is sharing the information or sharing the file over the network, right? So you don't need the connectivity physically. If you all are in the same network, you will get that information, right? So this is what the network drive or kind of a file share. So here, if you are not into the same network as well, you can share the data. So if I'm running this script on my virtual machine or on my any what I can say any laptop, if you want to run it on your laptop, on your machine, on your on premises or on your virtual machines or anywhere, you can just have a script, run it in your PowerShell, and that's it, done. So from there onwards, you can easily share your information and whoever is having the file share, they can share that information with each other. So this is what the file share we have. Now, once we understood what is meant by the standard tier and premium tier, let's get started with our storage account. Now, how to create the storage account? Either you can go from here, create a resource, or either there are some favorite bars. You can go directly from the storage account, or you can search it from here. So the best option is here, because here we are getting all the documentations as well. See here, you can start your journey with your storage account. Now I will go for the storage account and let's create one storage account. So it has been created. So this is the Cloud Shell. That's okay. Now let's create one storage account. So for this, what I can do, so this is our day 5 something, right? So I will go for day 5 RG, right? And then the storage account name. So the storage account name should be unique, globally unique. So I can say that Chetna, something like that, numbers, random numbers, and region. You can choose any region for that. I can go for the central US, or you can choose whatever your preference. So if you want the less, what I can say, reduce the latency, then you can go for the nearest location. If you want to go for the cost optimization, then you can go for the cheapest location. Okay. Now here, preferred storage type. So this is just kind of your preference, what you want. Do you want to use the blob storage or the data lake storage, or you want to go for the file shares, or you want to go for the tables and queues? So you can just choose your preference, or you can keep it as it is. I will not use this because I want everything. Now here you can see that there is a standard option and premium option. If I'm choosing the standard option, it will not give me the option to choose containers or the queue, table, or the file share. It is available for me. I can't change it. But if I'm choosing the premium storage, then I need to choose specifically whether I want to create my storage only with blob or only with file share or only with a page blob, right? So let's go for the standard tier. And here the answer is redundancy. Why storage account called highly redundant? Now what we have? So we have a total 6 redundancies. Now when I say that 6 redundancies, we can see only 4 redundancies here. Now where we have 2 redundancies, so LRS, we have a locally redundant storage, and ZRS. When you choose these two options, you will not get any option over here in the down or in below side. But if I'm going for GRS, then you can see that. So this is my normal geo redundant storage. If I'm enabling this, it becomes RAGRS. So this is a next redundancy. This is a 5th redundancy. Here, this is a new part which is priority replication guarantee blob storage data is geo replicated within 50 minutes. 15 minutes. Okay, that is fine. So if you are choosing this one, then if you want to do the replications within a 15 minutes, then you can also say that, okay, don't take your time as much as you want. I wanted to make sure about that you are doing each and everything within a 15 minutes. So if you want to give some kind of time bound for that, then you can enable it. But right now, let's focus on this. So if you are not choosing this, this is GRS. If you are choosing this, this is RA, Read Access GRS. Same thing for GZRS. If I am choosing this only, then this is a geo zone redundant storage. If I am choosing this option, then it becomes RAGZRS. Now, what is mean by that? LRS, ZRS, GRS, what is mean by that? So that part, let me just start this storage account quickly, deployment, and let's talk about redundancy part. Okay. Now here we have multiple other options, but this is an anonymous access. Either you can enable this access after creation of your storage account, but from here on also we can create it. Now, what is mean by that? So if you want to give the access to the storage account,
Uh,
anyone can access with the URL. Yes, Raghavendra?
Sorry to cut you. Do we have the concept of RAID in here in Azure?
What can you repeat it again?
Do we have a concept of RAID, like RAID 6, RAID 7? The
No, 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 no.
Okay.
We don't have that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So this is my anonymous access. So you need to enable that. It means from the URL, you can access my blobs, my containers, right? Otherwise, it will go into the private mode. Now, here there is this particular point is very, very important, which is called as a hierarchical namespace. Right now, if I'm not choosing this, my storage account becomes Azure storage account. Repeating it again, if I'm not choosing this, my storage account becomes normal Azure storage account with 5 PB of memory space. If I'm choosing this, then my storage account becomes Azure Data Lake Service with unlimited storage. With unlimited storage, and which is having the capability of analytical workloads. So whenever we are working with, let's say, Reliance Smart, Big Bazaar, or you are working with any other big brands, then to store that data, so every day many customers are accessing that applications, they are using that applications, and they are purchasing some products, anything, even for Uber, Ola. So many peoples are accessing that application, they are booking their cabs, they are getting served by the services and everything, right? So this is kind of a huge information. Now, why we need that information? Because we need to predict the future, right? So we need to analyze that kind of a data. So that's why we need to collect that information and we need to store that information. And day by day, that data will increase. And we can't delete that data because we need the previous information to manage our future datas, right? Suppose I'm running that Big Bazaar or I'm running that Reliance Smart, then I need to understand in which particular season that requirement is for sweaters and woolen cloths and all. How I will get to know about it? Or specifically this particular product is getting sold out on this particular time period. So how I can recognize that? So for that, first of all, I need to collect the information which is in a huge amount, and then I need to analyze that data. So analyzing and all these things is another part, but here what we need, the storage, which is unlimited storage, because we can't predict that this storage is enough for us or this space is enough for us. It will be increasing day by day. So for that we have the data lake storage, and inside the data lake you can store your information in the form of files and folders, hierarchical manner. So suppose I wanted to store my information for 2019, 2020, 2021, like that. In that folder, again, I wanted to store my information like month wise, right? Or day wise or week wise. Then you can create your folders and then you can access it. Storage account is flat. Container we have, but it is not kind of a folder. You can't say that this is kind of a folder structure. No, container is just kind of holding your files, that's it, right? So that is a difference between data lake storage and the normal storage account. So I will not use this right now, right? But in our next part whenever we are working with the data factory, or whenever we are working with specifically with the Synapse Analytics and all, that time we need the data lake storage, right? So right now, let's go for it. Normal storage account. Here in the networking, you can enable, disable the public network access. Right now, publicly it is available. If you want to restrict inbound, who can access the storage account completely, disable it. Secure by perimeter. If you want to create the most restricted access, outbound and everything, then you can go for this. If you want to enable from the network part, so these are the parts of your security. So we'll talk about these part after some time when we are talking about the security part. This we have as a data protection. So this is a soft delete. Now soft delete means what? Recycle bin. So what we have in our recycle bin? So if you delete any file, that file will be available in your recycle bin, right? Just a minute. Where we have, wait. Okay. Can you able to see my screen? Azure portal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, in case if you delete any blob or container or any information from the file share, if you want to store or if you want to retain back within next 7 days, you can go up to 90 days as well, or you can go for that. Here you will get to know about it. See here. Here you can get to know about that. It will store that information or it will keep that information for the next 7 days. Now, after 7 days, what will happen? If you are not restoring that information, then it will get permanently deleted. Now, why we have this kind of soft deletes and all? Because we want to retain the data, but also we want to make sure about that we are not increasing our bulkiness of the storage account. Because whatever data you are storing inside the storage account, Microsoft will charge on that, right? So if you are deleting that information, but if it is there in the soft delete, then Microsoft will charge on that as well for the next 7 days, because they are storing it for you. No matter what, you are restoring it or not, but they are storing it for you. So you need to pay for it. Okay. Now, whenever there is a storage, any kind of storage, maybe it is a data disk, or maybe it is your ACR, or maybe it is database, or any kind of storage, Microsoft by default doing the encryption and decryption. So this is the Microsoft managed keys. If you want to do it by yourself, then you need to create a key vault. You need to store your keys over there, and then you can secure your data. But right now we are not doing it. And then let's go for the review and create. Okay, let's quickly start the deployment, and then we'll talk about redundancy part. Okay. So now let's talk about the redundancy part. So what kind of redundancies we have? We have LRS, which is locally redundant storage. Now let's talk about why the storage account called highly available and highly redundant. So why it is called as highly redundant? Because of a 6 redundancy levels. Now how that availability is dependent on that. So let's talk about that. So whenever we are talking about the storage and we have a huge data storage space, that time Microsoft will also worried about our storage part. So let's say you have your laptop, you have your disk part with you, and one day you have stored so many things, your private information, each and everything, and one day you lost your data. Maybe it is crashed, maybe damage or something like that. You haven't taken any backup for it. Done. Discard. You can't get your data back, right? So here, as we are using a cloud, Even we don't know where it is stored, right? We don't know physical servers for it. So we are completely depending on the cloud itself. So Microsoft also understand the importance of that storage part. So if you are storing 1 TB data or any kind of a data in your cloud, in our cloud, then we need to take care of the storage part as well. It should be available at any cost for you, right? So that's why Microsoft never creates a single copy of storage. Microsoft always creates minimum 3 copies of storage everywhere, whether you are creating the OS disk, ACR, anywhere, whenever you are talking about the storage, Microsoft creates 3 minimum copies. Now, how that copies will get divided to increase your availability. So if my all 3 copies are present in the same rack, then if someone goes for the maintenance purpose or there is a power cut issue, then I may lost my complete data storage at that moment, right? So to resolve these things, Microsoft knows about it. They have the multiple racks, they have the power connections with them and all. So that's why Microsoft keeps these 3 copies within a data center, within single data center only, but in 3 different racks. So these are what? These are my rack 1, rack 2 and rack 3, right? And they are keeping that copies over here. So this is my storage 1, storage 2 and storage 3. Now here you don't need to worry about it. Even you will not recognize it. If something happened with my rack 1, maybe there is a power cut, maybe there is a maintenance is going on and all. If you lose the connection with storage account 1, then also you can't recognize, because in the backend Microsoft automatically switches to the second storage account. Now why you are not able to recognize it? Because on the all storage account copies, you have read and write access. And it is really very quick. If it is down, Microsoft recognize it and Microsoft will redirect you to the storage account too. And Microsoft will create the copies of it. It is kind of a synchronous in a manner. Synchronous means what? If you are uploading any image over here, that image will be available here, that image will be available here, like that. So whatever data you are copying over here, that is creating the 2 next copies in the different racks for you. So this is what the read and write access. So here also you can do that, here also you can do that. So you don't have the direct access. You can't see that storage account 1, 2, 3, I will store something over here and all. No, you will have only one access from the storage account. In the backend, Azure is taking care of these copies and Azure will give you only single access, right? But with the read and write operations. So within a data center, we have read and write access. Now, here the thing is, with the help of LRS, we are getting 99.99999999 up to 11 nines of SLA. So this is a huge amount of availability. As I said, Microsoft never says 100% of availability, because one day or maybe like a blue moon, something went wrong. Maybe my whole data center collapsed. Maybe my whole region got collapsed. Maybe my whole geography collapsed. So I can't say that 100%, because if they are not fulfilling it, they need to pay back, right? So that's why Microsoft never goes for 100%. Microsoft will give you the maximum level of availability. And this is the huge 99.9999 up to 11 nines of availability. But what if one day data center got failure? This is not happening usually. But what if someday, this is my bad luck or something like that, I have used my LRS and the data center collapsed. I'm not able to access any copy, right? So if now it is decision is on you. So is that okay if there is a data center failure for some time, you are not able to access the storage account? Is that okay for you, for your application? If it is okay, you are using the local application and all, for some time it is down. Zomato as well. So you are using the Zomato and in the backend, there are multiple applications are connected to that. And sometimes my server is down because of the data center failure. Okay, I'm okay for that because it will not create huge impact on my production environment or on my application. That is okay. Then you can go for LRS. But if you're not okay with that, no, this kind of things, if it is happening sometime or it is happening once in a while, then also I can't afford it. Then you can go for the next redundancy, which is ZRS. Sorry, which is ZRS, which is zone redundant storage. Now, what is meant by zone redundant storage? So it will also create 3 copies for you, but it will give you 99.99999999 up to 12 nines of SLA. Now how? So here in ZRS, Microsoft will create 3 copies, but in that region, there are zones, zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3. In any data center, of zones, Microsoft will keep your copy. So this is my S3. And within a region, you have the access of read and write. You have read and write access. Why I'm continuously repeating that read and write access, you will get to know about it in the next redundancy. Okay. So this is what the read and write access. It means if one data center got failure, then also Microsoft will quickly go for storage account 2 and 3 for me, right? And it will give me the access. Okay. So this is okay for me. That is completely fine for me. But let's say there are stock markets. Stock market is there or the banking applications are there. One day, once in a while, maybe once in a 5 years or 2 years or something like that, 10 years, once in a 10 years, there are chances of region failure, right? Maybe there is a region failure and I can't afford this region failure as well. So if there is a data and I'm not able to access that data, that is not affordable for me, then you can go for next one, which is called as GRS, Geo Zone Redundant Storage. Now, from here onwards, GRS, RAGRS, GZRS, RAGZRS and all are having 6 copies and with highest availability, which is 99.9999 up to 16 nines of availability. So 99.99999 up to 16 nines percentage SLA we have from GRS onwards. So this is the maximum level of availability inside our Azure portal. So that's why this is highly available, and because of 6 redundancies, we have highly redundant, right? Now what happened in GRS? So you already know about that regions are having the paired regions, and Microsoft has only created that paired region part. So let's say this is my geography. So this is my geography. Let's say this is US geography. This is my primary region, East US. This is my secondary region, West US, right? In primary region, there is a data center. And over here, we have 3 copies within 3 racks. Storage 1, 2, and 3. And here we have read and write access. Here we have the read and write access. Within a region, we have read and write access. But if there is a failure on the primary region, your data is already connected to the secondary region and they are doing the replications. So within a secondary region, there is a data center. And here we have next 3 copies. Storage 1, storage 2, and storage 3, right? Or I can say that storage 4, this is my 5th and this is my 6th. Okay. And here we have only read access. So if you lost your primary region, you also lost your write permission. You will get your secondary region. You can read your data, but you can't write anything on that, right? So you can say that, okay, my data is there. If I want to read that data till Microsoft is resolving that issue, that till that particular time period, at least I can read that data from the secondary region. Now, whenever you are using GRS to read that information from the secondary region, first of all, Microsoft needs to recognize that okay, there is a failure on region, all right. Then we need to enable this secondary region and it will take 50 minutes. Huge amount. It will take 50 minutes to roll back or to give you the access. Near about 50 minutes, it will give you the access to read your data. Till that time, what I can do? I don't know. I don't have the visibility that, okay, my data is there or not, whether I lost my data or not. So this is kind of a panic situation. So if you want to resolve that panic situations and all, then what you can do, you can go for the RAGRS. In RAGRS, the structure is same. Only you will get the read access. Read access means what? You don't need to wait for 50 minutes. You can directly read your data within your secondary region. So you don't need to wait for Microsoft to roll back the things and then I will access it. So this is the advantage of RAGRS. But the issue, if you can observe here, this is my data center, right? Here I have the data center. If there is a failure on data center itself, then also I will lose complete access on my primary region and I need to go for my secondary region. Even I don't need to wait for the region failure. If there is a data center failure, then also I lose my access. So to resolve, if we can have the option over here itself in the primary region, can we have the option for zone redundancy? Then yes, you can go for zone redundancy, which is GZRS, which we have GZRS, right? Now with the GZRS, again 6 copies. And here we are getting 99.999999 up to 16 nines percentage of SLA, right? Now with this, what will happen? So this is my geography, right? So this is my geography. I can say that geography US. This is my primary region. This is my secondary region. Within that secondary region, we have a data center only. Okay. Anyhow, we don't have the right access, so there is no point to create the ZRS over here. So here in the secondary region, we have data center. And within the data center, we have 3 copies. S4, S4, just S5 and S6. Okay. Now here in the first primary region, this is my East US, this is my West US. We have 3 zones. So this is my zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3. And within that zone, within a data center, we have 3 copies. S1, S2 and then S3. And here we have read and write permissions. And here only we have read permission. But if you are using GZRS, then again you need to wait for 50 minutes to Microsoft roll back on that. But if you are using RAGZRS, if you are using RAGZRS, then you will get that read permission. Now see here, what is the difference between this and that? Here in the primary region, there is a LRS for the GRS. But for the GZRS, there is a ZRS. So if there is a data center failure, then also we have a access on storage account 2 and 3, which is read and write access. If and only if there is a data center region failure, then and then only we need to go for the secondary region. Okay. So this is what all the redundancies we have. Any questions till that? What kind of redundancies we have? Yes. Team? Any questions till that on the redundancy part?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this is how Microsoft work for the replications, okay, to increase your availability. Now, let's go for the storage account. So you can see here, this is my storage account. Here you will get to know about my storage account, resource group and all the information. So it is inside the LRS right now. Performance is the standard one. This is my account kind and so on, right? Now here, this is the major part. So when you choose the storage account in the standard tier, for the data storage, we are getting container, file share, queue and tables. So container, simple. You can just go for the container, see here. And this is add container. Now to add a container, you can just put any naming convention. Let's say this is my test container, right? So the container will hold your files, or I can say that to hold your blobs. Okay. Now, how you want to give the access? Do you want to give only the access on the blob level? So by using the URL, they can reach out to the blobs, or you want to provide the access on the container level, the complete access. Then you can go for create. Right? Now, once you have the container, you can just get inside that and then upload your information. So let's say browse files. I will say that inside the downloads folder, we have, let's see, these are the PowerPoint presentation. I don't want to put that things. Let's say sample SPN. Okay, I will put these things over there. And IAS one, I can just open that. Let me just browse another file. I just want to add some kind of Azure. We don't have something like that, right? Sample SPN, we have the text file. Important links for the text is in the text file. So like that, and then upload. Now, before we are uploading it, so here you can choose your blob storage, blob, or page blob or append blob. Now, when you can go for the blob, if it is image, audio file, video file, or anything, then you can go for the blob. When you can go for the page blob, if it is a disk part, then you can go for the page blob. If you are creating the log files, you can go for the append blob. So right now we will go for the blob, and here you can see that upload only .vhd file as a page blob, right? Now here you can specify your block size. It can be a 128 kbs or it can be 2 MB, 100 MB. Now, whatever is your number, see here, whatever is your number. So let's say this is a 1 MB. If you are selecting 1 MB, so it will work like this. So the storage blob 1 MB multiplied by 50,000. How much? It's a 50. I can say that GB, right? So it will become 50 GB. So if you are selecting this option, where is this? Yes. If you are selecting this option, it means you can store one file size up to 50 GB. Okay, so the calculation will go like this. Now here we have the access tiers. Now what is mean by the access tiers and how it will use and all, that part we will going to discuss. Okay. Now understand that whatever the access tier you are selecting here, on that level as well, Microsoft will charge. Okay. Right now, let's go for the hot tier only. And then if you want to create a just folder for your reference, which is not having any other things on that, if you want to add any folder, that file you wanted to put it inside the folder, you can go for it. And once you are done, you can just upload it. That's it. See here, important links. So if I want to give you the access on it, then what I can do, I can go for the properties. I can copy this link, go for this and then paste it. And then enter. Now, before we are pasting, so that URL is having the name of my blob or my storage account. After that, as this is a blob storage, we are working with a container. That's why there is a blob.core.windows.net. If you are having the file share file, then it is a file.core.windows.net. If you are using that queue storage, then it is a queue.core.windows.net. Then after that, this is your container name and this is your file name, or I can say that blob name, and then hit on enter. So like that, you will get. See here. So this is the way how we can work with our blob storage. Now, there are multiple other things as well. So we will talk about these things. See here, rename, view, edit, you can do that. You can clone that. You can create a one more. You can copy the URL from here. You can download that blob. You can change the tier from here. You can create a SaaS token. You can acquire a lease. You can check the snapshot of it. You can view the version of it. And these are the multiple options of that, right? Now, what is mean by the acquire lease? Acquire lease is kind of, let's say there is some file and someone wants to access that file, okay, and someone wants to manipulate that file. Now to do that, let's suppose right now on the storage account 5 team members have the access. If 5 team members have the access, then anyone can access it at any point of time and they can make the changes. So I'm not able to understand that who is making the changes or what, or who is using that particular blob or what, right? It means it will create a conflict. It means it will create an error. If you are working with this particular blob from your data factory or somewhere, then they will also get some errors while running that scripts or anything. Now to resolve that issue, you can acquire a blob, acquire a lease. Acquire lease means what? Right now, 5 people are having the access on storage. But for this particular file, or I can say that for this particular blob, I want to make this private for now because I will be working with this. And when I work with this, no one else will disturb me. Okay. So if I want to do that, I will go for acquire lease. It means it is block. So other team members can only read that data. They can't create, edit, delete that blob. And once I'm done with my work, I can go for break lease. Right? So once I'm done with this, I can go for break lease. So like that, you need to work with the lease. Now let's talk about the access tier, because right now we have the hot tier. So for that, let me just go over here and let's talk about Azure pricing tier, pricing calculator. So first of all, we need to understand what pricing is there for this, right? So let me just go for the storage account and let's go for view, right? So these are the factors are present which affect the cost. So whatever the region you are selecting, whatever the blob type you are selecting, see here, we are using the blob. Standard tier or the premium tier, you need to choose that. Then whether you are using the flat namespace or the hierarchical namespace, see here. So for the flat namespace means normal storage account, it is a $20. If I'm using the hierarchical namespace, it is more than that, right? So if I can go for the flat namespace, so here we have the access tier. So if I'm putting my blobs into the hot tier and the capacity is 1000 GB data space. So you can see here $20, but if I'm changing it to the archive, it becomes near about $1. So it's a huge change. If I'm putting it onto the cold storage, then the changes are like this. See here, changes are like this. Write operation, how many write operations you want to do and all. So this is a $3. If I can go for the cool storage, then it will go like $15. So your pricing is changing on the level of access tier. Now, how I can say that this access tier is good for me? So whenever you are choosing that access tier, we have 4 access tiers, right? One is hot. After that, we have cool storage, we have cold storage, and we have archive, right? Now, Microsoft will charge you on the level of access and on the level of storage. Right? Let me just write it like this. Microsoft will charge you on the level of storage if you want to upload, when you are uploading the blob, when you are storing that blob for the particular time period, it is a storage, and on the level of access, how many times you are accessing it. So for example, if I'm going for this and I'm just refreshing my page, so I'm accessing it twice, right? So if 2 times I have already accessed, for the third time I will again go for it. So like that, this is what the access. Now for this, whenever you are putting anything onto the hot storage, the storage price is high. To store the data in a hot storage, the pricing is high. But once you store that, you are continuously accessing that information. Whenever you are accessing the data, your pricing is very low. To access that data, the pricing is very, very low. So when you can go for the hot tier. So if you are using your ongoing project and your complete data is present over there and you are continuously accessing it. For example, you have your online shopping website, your all the audio files, video files, images, and all these things are there. So those things you can put it onto the hot tier because this is a frequently accessed data. Okay. Now after that, here we have the cool storage. Maybe sometimes what happens, some of the information or some of the data we are not accessing within a 30 days. We are only accessing once in a 30 days, right? Some products are there like that, or some kind of files are there which are not that much frequently accessed. Those we required but maybe once in a 30 days we can just access it. So your log files, monthly data, monthly analysis and anything, if you want to do that, then you can put that information in the cool storage. So when you go for the cool storage, your pricing is less than the hot storage and your pricing is more than the cold storage. Okay. Same thing for the access. To access it, your pricing is little bit higher than the hot storage, but lesser than the cold storage. So if you can put that data information or the blobs inside the cool storage, then to access it, the pricing is little bit high because storing cost, you are just decreasing it, right? Same thing for the cold storage. See here, if you are accessing that blob within 30 days, once in a 30 days, then you can go for the cool storage. If you are accessing it once in a 90 days, you can go for cold storage. Quarterly updates, quarterly analysis. If you want to do that, then you can put that blobs inside the cold storage. So to do that, the pricing is lesser than the cool storage and the pricing is higher than the archive storage, right? Again, the same thing. To access that blob, the pricing is more than the cool storage and the pricing is lesser than the, what I can say, more than the cool storage, right? Now, the thing is here, accessing value is yes, over here. Not like this. Let me just go for this. Okay, pricing is more than the cool storage. So like that, I'm just writing it. Okay. Now, over here, till this one, hot tier, cool storage and the cold storage, till this one, you can access your data at the same point of time. Means if I want to access my blob storage, though it is in the cool storage, if I can just run it, hit on that, I will get my data. So it is okay if it is not in the hot tier, if it is in the cool storage or anywhere, but you can access your information or you can access your blobs immediately. But whenever you are putting your information in the archive storage, the data which is accessible once in a 180 days or once in a 365 days or 2-3 years I'm not using it, or once in a year I'm just using it. So your log files. So if there is something happened, then only we are just checking all the log files, or once in a year we are just checking all the log files. So the log files data which is required to store, but I don't want to spend my money for the storage, then you can put it inside the archive storage. So archive storage is kind of a offline data. So your data will be stored offline. It is kind of dehydrated data, right? And once you add that data, the pricing is really very low. But if you are accessing that data once in a while, the pricing is very, very high. And even you can't access that archive blob immediately. So if this blob is inside my archive storage, I can't access it immediately. So if I'm trying to access that blob, it will go for rehydration. So it needs the rehydration. So for that rehydration, it will take 1 to 15 hours. So it will take 1 hour to 15 hours of time period. And then only within that time period only you will get your data back. You can access that data, right? So the information that is you need to store, but you don't want to spend your money on it, you can put it inside the archive storage, which is the offline storage, right? So this is what our access tiers. Okay. Now let's go back. So these are my access tiers, and from here you can change that access tier. Even once you select that, you can change the access tier from here. See here, let me just go for my, where we have that option. Let me just cancel this. Let me break this list. Here, we have that option over here on the three dots, right? See here, change tier. So if I don't want this, I can go for the cool storage, cold storage, or archive storage. Now, that is okay if I can do it one by one, right? I can perform it one by one. But what if there are huge amount of blobs, millions and billions of files are there, blobs are there, and I don't know now what to do. What blobs we have which is not accessible in last 90 days or last 30 days or last 180 days, or I have never accessed it. So you can't check each and everything when it has created, last modified and all. You can't check each and everything, right? So for that, what you can do, you can go for the lifecycle management. So for you, Mike, you can just write it down inside the data management. There is a lifecycle management. So you can write your rule. So in that rule, let's suppose this is my rule. I can say that this is my rule, right? And over here we have that filters as well. So see here, limit blob with filter. Limit blob with filter means what? If you want to specifically say that only apply this rule on your images, .jpg folder or .txt folder or .csv folders or files like that. So you can put that filter set over here. But right now I just want to apply it on complete storage, right? And then I can go for the next part. Now here there are two options. When you have created the blob, do you want to create the rule on that, on a creation, or do you want to create a rule on the last modified? So this is the best practice. So always go for the last modified. It might happen some of the blobs we need it right now. Maybe I need it tomorrow. So I'm just doing that modifications on it. So if I haven't last modified this particular blob from last 30 days, then what you need to do? Either you can directly delete that blob. This is the automations. You can just write it down. Or you want to shift it to the cool storage. Change the tier. Then you can add that. Suppose I haven't last modified in 90 days. Then what you can do, you can just put it into the cold storage, or directly if you want to put it into the archive storage, or directly you want to delete it, you can do that, right? I will go with the flow. Let's say in last 180 days, I haven't used that, you can move it to the archive storage, right? And then if I want to add one more, let's suppose in 365 days, I haven't used that blob, then you can just delete it. That's it. So you can add this rule, and for you, storage account will work for it, right? So see here, this is my rule. So I can go for the code view and see here. You will get to know about these things from here as well, right? And if you want to edit that, you can edit it. So this is what the lifecycle management to change the access tiers of the storage account. Done. So what is mean by the container? It's just simple storage where you can create your container. You can just consider it as a folder, logical folder, okay? And these are your files, blobs, okay? You can just upload your multiple blobs over here. Now we have another option which is called as a file share, which is nothing but a network drive. So you can create your file share, name as my drive, right? Transaction optimized, hot tier, cool tier, what kind of things you want. See here, for the lowest transaction cost pricing for the transaction heavy workloads that don't need low latency offered by premium file share, you can just go for the transaction optimized, right? You can go for the hot storage access tier, or you can go for the cool as well. So here everything is written. So as per your requirement, you can just go for it. And maximum capacity C. So the drive, if you are purchasing your extra storage, you can go for 1 TB, 2 TB, 5 TB like that. But over here, they are providing 100 TB data space, maximum capacity. For the backup, if you want to create a backup for this, you can just write the policies. So don't worry about it right now. We will talk about the backup policies and all in our last module, right? And then review and create it. So this is my file share. Done. Now, once I have my file share, you can see that upload. So you can add any files onto that by using the upload. Now, let's say I wanted to connect. I want to connect my drive with this. Then what you need to do? You need to show script. So what kind of a drive letter you want? So usually we are using C, D drive, E drive and all, right? So that's why it is starting from Z, Z, X, Y, because this is an external drive. So over here, there is a script. So you just need to open your PowerShell. You need to run that PowerShell as an administrator and then copy the script and run it in your PowerShell. That's it. It will create a network drive for you. So I'm not doing it right now because I'm using Mac and I have not installed the PowerShell on that, right? But for you, you can just copy that. If you have your virtual machine or anything, you can just copy it and then run it. That's it. And then whoever have the drives with them, they can share the information from here. So you can also upload the data, or you can also someone else can also share the data. So like that, this is a network drive. Now, once we are done with this, I'm not going to talk about the queues. Tables you can't create directly from here. Instead, here we have the storage browser option. See here, there is a table. So you can just go for the table. You can add a table from here. Let's say this is my test table, right? And then click on OK. So see here, this is my test table. And then you can add your partition key, row key and all. See here, there are add entity. So you can add the partition key and row key. Yes,
Sorry,
Raghavendra?
can we make entries into the table?
Yes. So for
Okay.
example, this is my property. So let's say this is my name, right? I can just put it as a name as my entity. Then we have another property as mm, date of birth, or I can say that phone number. Like that. So you can add your entities. Let me just do like this.
Yeah, I meant in a query sense, like how we do in the SQL, right? So
Hmm?
we give it in the query sense, and then because now let's say we have 1500 entries, and then we can't practically keep doing this, right?
Yes. So what you need to do, you need to convert it. So see, whenever we are working with the tables, it is a simple table. Either what you can do, you can just add your all data entries in your SQL databases and then you can put it over here. That is fine. The what I can say, integrations are there already. So you
Okay.
can use that. But here, whenever we are working, you need to do manually.
So how do we export the data from the external DB to, like, let's say I have the SQL database in
Mm-hmm.
I have like couple of entries in a, I mean, in a table, maybe more than 1,000 or 1,500. So
Mm-hmm.
how do I export into Azure and then process it?
I will give you a link. There was one lab on that, Polyglot Solutions, where we do have the SQL database, and after that, we are converting into the table storage. And after that, we are just putting it into our this part, Cosmos database. But the simplest mechanism is Data Factory. So if you want to just transform your data from the SQL database to the storage account tables, you can directly do it from your data factory.
Okay.
Okay.
So data factory is integrated to your SQL and Azure.
Yes, there are multiple connectors. So you can add your connectors, what is your source, what is your destination, and then you can just transfer the data. Even while transferring the data, you can change the data as well.
Okay. But explicitly we can't like export a raw file into this and then
No, no, no. We can't directly copy paste kind of things.
okay.
Right? Okay, great. So like that here we have the name as let's say Satya, and the phone number I can just put it like this kind of thing and then insert, right? So like that we are having this. If you want to go for my tables again, if you want to search for something, you can just do that. And the best part is if you want to work with your table storage, then you need to install Microsoft Storage Explorer on your laptop, and then you can work freely with your table storage. Okay. So this is the one which is a table storage. I will not do the deep dive on that. And
Uh,
here, yes.
Now, in case where we have like, I mean, in this case where we have that there is something explicit database that is already existing, which holds the data, then what is the use case of tables in Azure?
Table is a non-relational storage. It is
Oh,
no SQL, right? So if you want to add some entity, so for example, I want to go for this table and I wanted to tomorrow I wanted to add that properties. So can you do that in your SQL database? No, right? Because it is a structured information. So this is when we are using the table storage whenever there is a small amount of a requirement. If you are creating your local application, then you don't need so many things with that. You can just simply create your table storage and then you can utilize it,
okay.
because databases and all things are costlier services. Instead of that, here you are getting each and everything in a same point or in a same service, so you can utilize that here
No, but
only. Yes, go ahead.
sorry. So, but let's say now we have some a table like employees with the
Mhm.
employees and everything. So that is the use case that we are having with respect to this, a structured database. So, but what is the, I mean, like, what is the thing that we store with respect to tables in Azure, is what I wanted to ask.
Like your Excel sheet, just keep simple. Excel sheet, if you want to create it inside the storage account, you can just use the table storage.
So, any computations that will happen on to the,
No,
okay.
no computations, nothing. It is just kind of a storage.
Okay, okay.
Okay. If you
All
want
right.
to do any other things, you need to go for the other services.
So, all the storages are just another, I mean, like, are just the same, like they are just meant absolutely for storing, nothing more than that.
Storage is for storing purpose. It is
Yeah,
not having the capacity to do any other things. So
yeah,
if
that's
you
what I
want,
mean. We
Hmm,
can't fetch and perform any
yes,
computation with respect to it.
no.
Okay.
Even if in we are in that SQL databases, then also it is storing the information. If you want to perform something like that, you need to write a query for it, right? So in the backend, there are servers running behind the scene to run your queries. Okay?
So I have a question in
Yes.
this. Like for that queries and tables thing, that is fine. But for normal storage, how why will use this only? So in companies there was already a shared drive.
Mm-hmm.
Then why will use this storage?
Share drive, as in you are sharing that
Means
information.
OneDrive and shared drive.
OneDrive, shared drive, we already have, that is okay. But we can't use that OneDrives and shared drives for our application purpose, right? So let's take example of Netflix.
Yeah, for application also we have external storage, right? Like a 3PAR or an Alletra or a Nimble. So these are enterprise level storage. So I think,
Yes,
yeah,
every storage is having its own benefits and all features. So,
yeah, yeah. So that's what. So if that is existing in the enterprise level,
If
then
they are giving,
how
yeah,
is it different from the traditional storage to the Azure storage that is being provided?
traditional storage, you don't have the access on it, right? If you are storing your information in on premises, or if whatever you are saying that there are multiple other external sources as well. So you can store your information anywhere, whenever you want, whenever you utilize that features. You can choose that. That is up to you. But if you are using the Azure cloud, then if you want to store your information, you have only two choices. One is the storage account and another one is the data lake. So
Yeah,
if this is a cloud native, Azure cloud native, then you need to choose the Azure storage. Whatever the present inside the Azure, you can just use that.
yeah, I got it. But my question is like, let's say now we have a solution in a company for a particular client wherein he's not willing to move completely to cloud, whereas not completely on to the on-premise. So in such scenarios in a shared system, now he's trying to load some applications onto Azure and some of them on the on-premises. So now in this scenario where this he's trying to use storage with respect to the on-premise, like a Nimble or a 3PAR or an Alletra. So in those scenarios, now let's say what is like the kind of use case, because we can integrate the storage to Azure as well in order to retrieve the data from the on-prem storage and do the computation part and the hosting part of applications onto the Azure. So how different it is when we compare from the on-prem storage to the cloud storage?
Okay, so see, whatever your scenario, you want to keep your storage in your on premises, right? So it is a example of hybrid applications. So you are not using the storage account there. You are using your on premises storage.
Okay.
So for the integration part as well, you are doing the same thing. So for the integration for your applications, you are using your storage account, or I can say that storage which is present in the on-premises. There you don't need the Azure storage in a place. So you don't need to create that.
Yeah, so that's what now in a case where I'm trying to put my data as a secondary copy into the Azure. So in such scenarios, what is, I mean, like, how is it different is what I was trying to understand.
Okay, so if you want to keep your data, the second copy over here, then your combination will go like this. So this is your web application, which is connected with your storage, which is your on premises. So this
Okay.
is your first part. Then you need to add the condition over there. If something went wrong with this, then you need to switch to the Azure storage and you need to make a replication. You need to copy whenever we are doing the backups and all. You need to take a backup onto the storage account.
Yeah, that's what. So, my question is, how is it different from the on-prem storage? Like on-prem is providing me power where it is helping me to retrieve the data and push the data onto the on-prem storage, and it has a dedupe capacity in all of these, right? So, I mean, like you had said that there is no computation part of it with respect to storage, and it stores only simpler data with respect to it. So I mean, if I'm trying to switch my entire on-prem to cloud, when I'm not able to store the complex data, so is it not a issue for me if I'm trying to migrate to cloud?
See, data is only of three types. So whatever kind of data, whether it is a complex data or the simple data, you can store it over here. Computation part required the server in the backend. So when you are storing your information in your on-premises storage, then the on-premises servers are running behind the scene for the computation part, right?
Okay.
But over here, this is a simple storage. So if you want to make some changes on it, or if you want to do the computations on it, then there are multiple other things. We have the Azure Synapse Analytics, where you can work with the data. Storage is a normal storage. You can just store that information. But to work with the data, there are multiple other services. So you need to integrate the Azure Synapse Analytics to work with that, or else you need to work with the Databricks storage, or you can go for the dedicated SQL pools. So there are multiple ways where you have the servers and then you can work or you can do the manipulations with the storage.
Okay, so it does give me a provision to store a bigger chunk of data or a complex
Yes,
data.
complex data. So if
Okay.
you want to store the complex data or the bigger information, unlimited storage, then we have the data lake,
Okay.
right?
That's another integration or an existing feature?
So whenever we are creating the storage account, you need to enable the hierarchical namespace. So if
Okay.
it is enabled, then your storage account becomes a data lake.
Okay, got it.
It can be only one. Either it can be a data lake or the storage account.
Hierarchical option, right?
Yes, hierarchical namespace.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. So this part is done. Now let me go back. I guess it's 11. So shall we go for a quick break?
Yeah.
So we are done with the data storage part. What is mean by container file share queue? Queue I have not taken because I'm just keeping that part in our service bus extra part. And after that, we will go for the security. What kind of a securities we have in our storage account. Okay. So before that, let's take a quick break.
Ma'am, any update with respect to the labs that they're going to provide?
Yeah, I have already discussed now. So we need to create one Outlook account, separate personal email ID, and from there you need to just create your subscription. Pay as you go account. So if you are facing any challenges, then and then only you can just connect with me personally over the WhatsApp that we need the access. Then I will create a username and password for you, but which will be having the restricted access. So you can perform only the labs.
Okay.
Okay, but if you need the complete access control on that, just go for the pay as you go account.
Okay.
Let me Okay, so we are talking about the elastic pools, right? For the database part, whenever we are working with that, there is one option of the elastic pool. So see here, suppose my database 2 is already having 2 GB, but it requires more than that. Then there is a part of elasticity. So if requires more than 2 GB, then here we have already 1 GB extra memory. So I can take it from here and I can increase my size, right? So this is what the elasticity. So whatever the databases are present inside the pool, they will take that databases size from there and then it will increase the scaling. So that is what the elastic pool concept behind the scene. So let me just go back to my portal again, right? And we are not going to create any SQL elastic pool. We are not going to create a SQL server databases and server instances. But here also we have the managed instances. Managed instances we are using for the migration purpose mostly. Right now we are not going to talk about it. We will go for PaaS service, which is a SQL database, simple service. Now, to create that, first of all, what I need resource group. After that, database name, I can say that this is SQL DB123. Any number you can create, you have to create a server. Now, the process is this. If you want to implement the SQL databases, if you want to work with SQL databases, you need to have your servers in the backend. So if you are doing it on your laptop or on your any machine, you need to install SSMS tools, which will act as a SQL server for you. So here also, if we are directly going for the SQL database, then also in the backend, there has to be a server, which will help you to run our queries and all to work with the tables and the databases. Now, once you are creating it, as it is a PaaS service, once you create it, other than that, everything will be managed by Microsoft. Installing the SQL servers on it, doing the patchings and each and everything will be handled by Microsoft. So now I will put the name over here. It's my Azure SQL server, something like that. So it should have the globally unique name. So I'll check on that. Okay. East US region, I'm okay with the East US region. Now, for this one, either you can go for the Microsoft Entra only authentication, you can go for the identity. Either you can go for both SQL or the Entra ID authentication, but I will go with my SQL authentication. Simple username and password. So I'll use that Azure user. So whenever I need the username and password, I will use the same one, Azure user, and same password as well. Okay. So that's it. Now, once we are done, we need to just click on OK. Okay, I need to change my West US to, I guess, Central US. Let me just choose my Central US. Do we have that option?
Yes, it's in middle,
In middle,
central, yes.
Central US.
Yes.
Yes. Central US, right? So we are done. Let me just click on OK. Let me check. Okay. It's working now. Now, over here we have the multiple other options. So first of all, you need to select your server. Once you are selecting your server, do you want to enable the elastic pool? Do you want to add this database as one of the database in elastic pool? So you can say yes. But right now we don't want that. So we can just put it as a no. What do you want? Workload environment. Do you want to go for the production environment or the development environment? So see here, default setting provided production environment. So you can just go for it. If you want to use that SQL database for the development purpose, you can go for the development one. Now, this is the major part. Right now, you can see this. This is 320 USD, right? So this is a costing for a month. Why? Because in the backend, the course, the server, whatever the vCPUs and all we have is this. Now you need to change it. See here, right now we are using 80 vCores. We don't require that much of memory and that much of vCPUs. I will go for serverless. So now what is mean by serverless? Serverless means whenever there is a requirement like a function app, wherever there is a requirement of backend server, Microsoft will generate the server and also reduce and increase everything will be handled by Microsoft only. So the scaling part will be handled by Microsoft. So we don't need to worry about it. Another thing, we have the provisioned compute. So suppose, let's say I will take one example to understand provision and serverless. Let's say there is a weekend, or I can say that it is kind of a holidays. Whenever you want to go for any restaurant for dinner or lunch, if it is a rush hours, you will not get your table, right? So for that, what you need to do, you need to reserve. Once you reserve, maybe there is a rush or anything, no one else is getting the tables and all, they all are waiting. Still, if you reserve that, then it means it is available for you because you are paying extra charge on that. So that is what the provisioned. So if you want to say that, okay, every time whenever I'm asking for the SQL servers, it has to be available for me with this particular whatever configurations I'm choosing, and scaling also, then you can go for the provisioned compute tier. Serverless means whatever the tables are available, if it is available, I will get that. Otherwise, I need to wait for it. So that is what the serverless. But whenever you are using the serverless also, there is no such kind of waiting time. So Microsoft has multiple servers running in the backend for the serverless, and Microsoft will give you the servers. Someone is trying to create AI companion, not required. All right, so this is what the serverless. So to reduce my costing, I'll go always with the serverless. Now here, change configuration. So here I don't want to go for my this one premium series or the premium memory optimized. So see here, these are my different options we have. So if I'm going for the standard series, then here I need to make the changes. How many vcores I required? After that, how many what we can say high availability we required? Everything you need to decide, right? And here right now we are on to the hyperscale. So this is the decision criteria now. If you need the highly scalable compute, then you can go for the hyperscale. That's why there are 80 cores. If you are going for the general purpose, that is okay for you. You can just go for the general purpose. It's a budget friendly and you can easily work with the SQL database. You can go for the general purpose. If you want to go for the business critical, whenever we are thinking about the availability part, so there are two options. One is the scalability, one is the availability. What do you want? Whether you want the highest scalability, you can go for the hyperscale. If you want the highest availability, then Microsoft will more focus on the availability part and the performance part. Then you can go for the business critical. Or you can go for the basic standard premium versions as well. But for me, I can go for the general purpose and then I will go for the serverless. See here, the pricing. You need to also check the pricing as well. So monthly, it will be 5.74 USD. And it will also depend on whatever I'm selecting over here. So what is my storage data maximum size? I don't want more. I can go for 1 GB because we are just working with the tables and all. Like that's it, done. vCores also, if you want to reduce that vCore, then also you can do that. So now the pricing is $0.18 for me per month. So once I'm done with this complete demo, I will delete that resource group as well and then hit on apply. So it will reduce your costing. Now, after that, see here, always keep eye on your pricing details. Okay. So once we are done, we'll go for the networking. Now, how you want to give the access? How you will having the access on your databases? So you can say that public. So when I say that public endpoint, then you need to enable this option. Allow Azure services and resources to access this server. Means what? I'm the one who is having the username and password, who's accessing it from the Azure portal, as well as if I wanted to attach web application to my SQL database, then it is okay. So I'm enabling this. Now, from my this PC, I'm accessing each and everything from the internet. So it means I have that IP address, right? Every PC have their IP addresses, every server. Now you need to enable. So if you enable this current client IP address, then and then only from Azure portal also you can access the SQL database. If it is not on, if it is disabled, means what? You can't access your database from Azure portal as well, right? So remember that this configuration is important. After that, here we have the security. There is nothing for the security part. I will not add anything else. Additional settings. So right now I don't have any kind of information so that I can put it into my databases. So I will go for the sample data. So sample data, Microsoft in the backend for the sample, for the data development, DevOps, everywhere, Microsoft is using online shopping websites only. So this Adventure Works is the online shopping website for the cycle parts and the cycles, right? So they are having the complete information and it is open for us to utilize that sample data. Customer.csv file, product.csv file, like that, sales files, tables. There are multiple tables. And once we have, I can just go for review and create. Now, once we start the deployment for this, we'll go for the second resource. Okay. Now, once you have this window, then and then only you can change it. Okay. Otherwise, it will not give you the option to go over here and there. Now, once we are done with the SQL database, that will be available in some time. So till that time, what we need to do, we need to go for the Cosmos DB. So I will search for Cosmos database and here you will get that Azure Cosmos database option. So here, first of all, when we are working with the Cosmos database, we need to create an account. Okay, so what we can do, let's do that after some time. Let's focus on the storage account. Let's complete that and one by one we'll create a resource. Okay. So let me go for my storage account now. And till that SQL database is getting deployed, till that time, let's work on our this part. Where is my storage? This one, right? So let's go for it. Now, Microsoft says that storage account is highly available, highly redundant, and highly secure. Now, when I'm saying that highly available and highly redundant, that we already know. Why it is highly redundant? Because of 6 redundancies or replicas. Why it is highly available? Because of 99.9999 up to 16 nines percentage of availability, right? But now why it is saying that it is highly secure? So the storage account is one of the service which will give you the security on each and every level. When I'm saying that on each and every level means you can secure your data on the storage account level, on the container level, as well as on the file level or blob level. Now let's understand what are the options we have for the storage account level, right? Storage account level. So on the storage account level, first is coming, which is a RBAC role, RBAC. Let's go with some one by one line. See here, we have the storage account. So the first part will come on this particular line item. This is the one which is access control, which is nothing but identity access management. If Microsoft Entra ID or our Active Directory is having the username and password or is having the identity, then we can provide the permission from here to that identity, and that permissions are these. So as per the requirement, suppose I wanted to provide the access only for the storage account data reader role, container or anything. So these are what? Okay. So over here, you can see that there are multiple options. Either you can provide the reader role, either you can go for the multiple other things. See here, there are multiple options we have. So this is my storage account, right? Now here we have the blob privileged administrator roles as well. So either you want to give the permission on the contributor access or the owner access, whatever you have. See here, role-based control administrator role. user admin role. So what are the options, or what are the do's and actions and not actions? All these things you can see that over here. Now for this role-based access control, we are going to understand in our next part, which is the identity and access management, right? But understand that if you have the identity, if I want to give you the permission on the level of storage account, job function role, then I can provide the access as per this, right? So let me just go for this one. See here. So from here, once you give the permission, which is a role assignment level, then you will get to know about that from here, role assigned. See here, right now I'm the only one who is having the owner access, and it is hierarchical basis. Sorry, it is kind of a inheritance. What is mean by the inheritance? If you remember the organization chart, on the day one, we discuss about the organization chart. We have first of all the subscription, then we have resource group, then we have resources, right? So if someone have the access on the level of subscription or on the level of resource group, they have the access on the resources as well, right? So this is inherited in a nature. So this access is coming from the subscription level itself. So see here, this is inherited, and you will get to know about that from here. So like that, we have multiple roles. So on the level of identity, you can secure your storage account. Okay. So this is the one. Now let's say if I'm going down, this is a data storage, and over here there is a security and networking. So first of all, let me just get inside the networking and what are the options we have for the networking. So let me just go over here. So first, RBAC. Second, networking. So if I want to talk about the networking part, see here. This is enable all networks, enable from all networks. So let's suppose if I'm managing it, public network. If I want to disable this, I can go for it. Disable means what? No one can access it. So I can just go for this, disable it, and then save it. Once I save it, even you are not able to access the storage account from the Azure portal, right? Suppose if I'm doing the enable and I wanted to make sure about that only the networks, selected network. For example, there are virtual machines. That virtual machines are present in the virtual network. And I wanted to provide the access to the virtual network only. Whatever the machines are present in that particular network, I wanted to give the access. Then you can choose your existing virtual network, or you can create your new virtual network and give the permission, right? So this is the one option where you can secure your data or secure your storage access on the level of network, on the level of who can access what, as well as you can add your IP address over here. See here, add your client IP. Now, if I'm selecting this enable, but enable from the selected network, let's say I'm adding that virtual network. It means only the virtual machine which are present in the network can access the storage account. Even you can't access the storage account from the portal. Why? Because you need to go for this option. You need to add explicitly your client IP address here. You need to give the permission to yourself first, and then only you can access it from the portal, right? So right now, this is the one of the option which is working with the networking. Now there are multiple other options as well. So here we have the private endpoints. So suppose the scenario is here, whenever we are selecting the manage option, there is one option to choose your virtual network. Suppose in that virtual network or in that particular subnet, we have 20 virtual machines. So that all 20 virtual machines can access my storage account. But here you have the specific option to create a private endpoint. Private endpoint means what? I don't want to provide the access to 20 virtual machines which are present in the network. I wanted to give only the permission to my 2 or 3 virtual machines in that virtual network. So for that, you need to create a private endpoint for it, right? Now, see here, it is saying that use private endpoint to privately connect to a service or a resource. It is a one-to-one communication. So if you want to give the one-to-one communication, you can go for it. Here we have the network routing. So if you want to create the route tables and you want to route the access from here to there, you can just use that network routing. You can also add the custom domains. So first of all, what do we need to do? So for my storage account, the domain name is storage account name, then blob.core.windows.net, and then there is something container, and then the file name, right? So like that. So this is my URL. This is the domain by default. But if you want to attach some domain name, you want to purchase it from any providers. So there are multiple providers, GoDaddy and something like that. Purchase it and then you can add your domain name over here. So you can do that, right? Now, this is regarding with the networking. So this is again on the storage account level. Now, the third option we have is the access keys. Third option we have is access keys. Now, when we are talking about the access keys, we have two things. One is access key, another one is a connection string. Access key will go with endpoint. Access key will go with endpoint. Access key means what? You are providing the access on the level of storage account, and endpoint is what data storage you want, right? So over here, we also have the endpoints. Let me just go for this. See here. So access key always go with the endpoint. So if you want to only work with the blob storage, you can use this endpoint. If you only want to give the access on the file storage, then you can give the endpoint of file services. Same thing for the queue storage, same thing for the table, data lake and all. So here you can filter it out, whether you want to provide the access on the blob level or file service or queue or table or kind of things, right? So this is the one which is access level, access keys. Now there is one more option which is a connection string. Connection string is the powerful as well as really very sensitive information of the storage account. If someone have the storage account connection string, you can't control the access. It means that person or that identity is having the access on storage account completely like a owner. Can create, edit, delete anything they can do with the storage account connection string. So this is really very powerful, or I can say that it is kind of a sensitive information like your passwords, right? So always remember, whether in our applications also, whenever we are using that application, we are not putting that connection string directly into the code. We need to keep it somewhere, we need to secure it, and then only we can utilize it, right? So this is what the connection string, who is having the major access. So access keys and connection string, right? Now, other thing is that is okay. This is a powerful secret. So someone is having that, you can't control it. Otherwise, you just need to rotate the key. That's it. But rotating the key, it will also create some issues, because suppose let's say you are providing this connection string to 2 3 members or 2 3 applications. So if you rotate the key, they will lose the connections. So that's why this is the option that we need to think before we are sharing it with anyone, right? So this is what the access key. But another level which is a shared access signature, and it is only present in your storage account. So here we have the shared access signature, and that shared access signature will provide the access. I can say that SAS, shared access signature. This feature, or I can say that this security feature will give you the security on the level of storage, on the level of container, as well as on the level of blob. And you can customize it. Okay. Now, how to customize it? So here you can select which services I wanted to give the permission. Okay, I don't want to give the permission on queue storage. I just want to give the permission on blob and files. Only container and the services. That's it. Now, out of these things, I don't want to give the permission to create, add, delete, write. Only read and list. That is okay. Done. Now, on top of that, I wanted to give the permission from this particular time period to this particular time period. So I can specify the start date and end date as well as the timing for it. Even if I know I am providing you that access and I know the public IP address of yours or your machine, I can put the IP address, right? So though you are having my SAS token or the URL with you, but if it is not mentioned over here, this IP address, you will not access it, right? So this is kind of a powerful and more controlled version, SAS token. But here also, whenever we are creating the SAS token, you need to be more careful. So once you create the SAS token, right, you can either share the connection string, which is a SAS, either you can share the SAS token or the SAS URL, right? Now, once it is getting created, no one can change it. For example, because of some mistake, you have given the permission of delete and created a SAS token. Suppose right now, someone has created the SAS token with the delete permission and for 1 hour time period. Okay. And right now I'm having that URL. So by using that URL, I can access the storage account. I can read, I can delete it for the next 1 hour. No one can change that access. Even you are thinking that, okay, I have done a mistake and now I will cancel that and generate a new token. No, you can generate a new token, but it is now for me, whether I'm using that previous token or the newest token which you have generated. So if I'm using my previous token with the delete permission, then still I can delete the things for the 1 hour period. So this is kind of a bond, or this is kind of a signature. Once you sign it, no one can change it. So if you have done any mistake and you have to resolve these things, then you need to have only one option, delete storage account. No other options. So that's why whenever we are creating the SAS tokens, you need to more, what I can say, you have to keep eye on each and everything, right? And with the flexibilities, we can create it on the level of storage account. See here, we can create it on the level of storage account. If I want to give the permission only on the level of container, I can go for my container and I can create a SAS. See here, this is my shared access token. So on the level of container also I can create. See here, which permission you want to provide, for what time, date and time you want to give the permission. So you can create a URL or SAS token on the level of container. Or you can create SAS token on the level of file or blob level. So see here, there is a generate SAS. Now over here, I can see that you can read, you can add, you can delete whatever the roles I'm just providing, whatever the permissions. See here, R for read, A for add, C for create, W for write, and all, right? So whatever the things I'm providing it from here, and then generate a URL, you can observe that URL. See here, that URL is having storage account name. So this is a normal URL. See here, let me just copy that and paste it over here, right? You can observe that now. So this is a normal URL till this. We have that blobs and all till this EMP, right? After that, here this is the SP. SP means what? Your permission. What permissions you have? Read and write. As you can see that, read, R for read, W for write. This is my start time and date. After that, here we have the end time and date, right? Then this is the resource. Which kind of permission you have? HTTPS. You have the permission on the HTTPS. And after that, this is a version. And what is the source? Blob. If it is a queue, then there is a queue. If it is a file, then there is a file. F, right? And then we have the unique signature for it. So with that, we are having that complete URL, right? So this is my page, or this is my document, blob. So like that, you can create the SAS tokens or SAS URLs on the level of blobs as well. Now, another scenario is, let's say you have created the SAS token on the level of storage account. Suppose I have 10 containers. I want to give the permission on 10 containers. So what I can do, I will not create a separate container level shared access signature. So I need to create a 10 SAS. Instead of that, what we can do, we can create the SAS on the storage account level. But let's say out of that 10 container, one container is a private container. I don't want to share that container with anyone else. So if the shared access signature is created on the level of storage account and still you want to protect your one of the container, then here we have the access policy. So here we have the stored access policy. You can add the policy. If you don't want to give the permissions, read, write, or anything, or from the storage account, you have the permission of write or delete, but you don't want to give that permission, you can just change it. And then you can go for the start time and end time, whatever you want, you can just add that, right? Immutable means if you want to protect this container from delete or modify, then you can add the immutable policies. No one can change you. So you can just put your legal hold on this container. So no one can change it. No one can delete without your permission. So it is kind of a retention policy, right? So those are the things we have for the security part. So let me go back to the SAS. So here, these are the options we have for the security. And you will never get these kind of a security levels, different kind of security levels on any service. So that's why storage account is the highly secure. So that's it for the storage account. What is mean by the storage account and how to create that, everything we have discussed. Now, other than that, there is a CDN. Now, what is mean by the CDN front door? That part I will show, I will tell you maybe at the end, maybe before the monitoring or something like that, right? But I will talk about it. After that, here we have the redundancies. If you want to change that redundancy, one option we have for the data protection. So if you want to do the data protection, so if you remember, these options were there when we created our storage account. That time, that options were there. So if you want to make the changes over here right now, you can do that. Here we have the object replication. Object replication is specifically for the blob storage. Now, by using that GRS or GZRS, your data will be replicated into the different region or the secondary region, and this is a paired region. If my primary region is East US, my secondary region must be West US. But let's say if you want to replicate your objects to any region, to any storage account, then you can go for the object replication. Okay, so from here, you need to create a replication rule, which is your source storage, which is your destination storage, and what is your container name. So these all things you need to create. See here, what is your source container, what is your destination container, and then you can enable the replication. Okay, so this is it. Also, you can create a static website from here. So you just need to enable it and then you can create the static web applications, right? That's it. Here we have the data lake Gen 2. So if you want to upgrade it to the data lake, then you can just go for these steps. See here, review account change before upgrading, validate the account and upgrade account. Instead, what you can do, you can just directly go for the storage account and create a data lake storage by enabling the hierarchical namespace. That's it. So this is for the storage account complete. So any questions for the storage account part at least? Mm-hmm.
So yeah, ma'am. Means if we will create a SAS key
Mm-hmm.
for the blob storage as an example,
Mm-hmm.
and by mistake with delete permission we have enabled it.
Mm-hmm.
How will undo these changes?
No,
Means
no, that is what the issue with, or I cannot say that issue, but that is you need to take care of, right? As it name say that it is a signature. So once you create it, it's created.
okay.
So whenever we are creating it, that time only you need to make sure about that, that you are keeping your proper permissions as well as the time and date. So if it is created, means I have the permission to delete it for that particular time period. No one else can change it, or else you need to delete the blob itself. Like that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Let me just close this window, and that's it. Now, let me go back to the SQL database now. I guess my SQL database is ready for me. Now, whenever we are talking about the SQL database, where we have, let's go from here itself. Now, simple one, it's a SQL database. You don't need to do any kind of connectivities and all. So it is on platform itself. So here you have the compute and storage. Here you have the connection strings and all. Now, if I want to work with my SQL database by using the SQL queries, then what I can do, I can go for the query editor. First of all, it will ask you for the authenticate. So this is the option for the Microsoft Entra authentication. So what we chose from the SQL Server authentication only. Now over here, I will add my password and then enter. Right? So like that, you can see we have used that sample data. So I don't need to create anything. So it is already there. So you can see that everything, tables and all structures are there. Sales, product models, product descriptions and all. So suppose if I want to query it, then I can just select. So I can go for select star from, let's say sales address, sales customer. So let's go for the sales customers. So you can add your query, SQL query, and then you can just run it, hit on run. That's it. See here. All the informations are here. You can see that if you want to filter it out, if you want to join any things, rows, columns like that, whatever you want. So you are expert on that if you are from the SQL background, and then you can write your queries, right? So like that we can work simple and easy to use. So this is what the SQL database, which is a PaaS service. Now, this is a strict schema. Now, whenever I'm talking about the strict schema, it means you can't make the changes once you define the properties or entities, right? So you need to stick with that. Even, so if this is your, let's say, table, right? And from this table, suppose this is your mobile number. So whenever we are creating the properties and the entities, whenever we are creating the table, we need to specify that whether that can be null or not. So you need to make sure about that to add these pointer. Suppose someone don't want to add their mobile phones. So if you're not enabling it, so okay, if the value is null, that is also acceptable. Then you what I need to say, just you need to design it before the hand, right? If you have not said that this value must be filled by something like that, then whenever we are adding the rows, you will get the mandatory field. So you need to add the mobile number for sure, right? So this is what kind of a strict schema we have, right? Now what is mean by that, we already discussed about it. Now there is a relational database. Relational database means what? I can't put each and everything in a single table. So there might be multiple tables. One table is for the customer information. One table is for the sales information. One table is for the product information, right? So like that, there are multiple tables and they are connected with each other, or I will say that there is one fact table. So this is what the scenario. One is the fact table and those are called as a dimension tables. Those are the dimension tables. So those are connected to the fact table is called the star schema. So this is what? This is a relationship. So we are creating the relation database. It means whenever the customer purchase any product, so it is connected to this one. It is connected to the product details, which product they have purchased. It will also collect the information from the sales information. So sales, whenever we are collecting the or whenever we are adding the information for the sales, it has to be a customer data as well as which product they purchased. So every entity or every table is connected with each other. So that is why what we required actually, right? So that is called as relational database and which follows the strict schema, okay, for the relational database. Now, when I'm talking about the relational database, SQL database is the relational database. Even our data warehouse, SQL pools are the relational database. There are multiple relational database we have. MySQL is there or any different. So those who are working in the data, they know about it. There are multiple relational databases. Or I can say that strict schema databases are there, right? But what if I don't want to follow that? What if I want the flexible schema? So here there is a strict schema and here we need the flexible schema. What if I want flexible schema? Suppose there is one database we are creating to collect the information for patients and we need to recognize cancer patients. So there are multiple options, there are multiple properties and entities are there. So we need to collect that things and we need to check that if it is matching, then this patient is the cancer patient, right? So this is our first thought when we design that structure, table structure, relational database. Now let's say in future, it might happen there are multiple cancer types. Right now it is there, right? There are multiple cancer types. And there are multiple other factors that we need to match, right? So it means we need the flexibility to add more properties on that in a future. So when you want these things, flexible schema, you can't go for the SQL databases. You can't go for the SQL databases. You need the flexible schema databases. Now, when I'm saying that flexible schema, I need the flexible schema, I need that what we can say, something like that. Maybe I want to store images, audio file, video file, kind of. Maybe I wanted to store the script file. Maybe I wanted to store some connectivity kind of things and all. So it is not like that always we need to put each and everything in the key and value. We can't store each and everything in the key and value pairs, right? So our Aadhaar card data is more about documents. So there are multiple things. We have iris recognition, we have photographs, there are multiple documents are there. So SQL database will not fulfill my that goal. So I need, for that purpose, I need something called as document DB, which is nothing but the MongoDB. So now what is mean by the document DB, MongoDB and all these things? We are not going to talk about what is mean by MongoDB, but there is a need of extra things that will not be fulfilled by SQL database. So that time we have to go for no SQL. Now, whenever I am saying that no SQL, it is not like that. It is not an SQL. It is not only SQL. It means it supports SQL as well, but it is beyond SQL database. So there are multiple NoSQL databases are there in the market. 200 plus databases are there in the market as per your requirement. So if you want to store the Aadhaar card information, choose document DB, where you can store your multiple things in terms of the keys and value pair. You can store your image, audio files, video files, kind of things. So this is what the MongoDB. MongoDB is one of the example of the document DB. There might be some kind of columnar database, columnar store. So when I'm saying that columnar store means what? When we need that columnar store. So basically the SQL database is row based. So for example, this is my C1, C2, C3. These are my columns. Suppose I want to call out that row 1. If I want to read that row 1, right? Or suppose I wanted to read only this column 2, then what I need to do? I need to call out the all rows. I need to query all rows, and out of that, what is the C2 value? So first of all, we need to collect row data and then we can calculate the column data, right? But what if I don't want to call out that row values and all. I directly want that column based structure. So your OTT platforms, you get that option for most movie watched column. So we are just fetching the column information. Whenever we have that earthquake detectors or the tsunami detectors or something like that, there are some sensors and they are collecting the information about the sensors. And when this particular value matched to that particular data, so it is kind of a particular column reaches to that particular value. So, right. So for that purpose, we have to use the columnar databases, which are not row based, which are specifically on the columnar. So we have the Cassandra or HBase are something like columnar data stores, right? So for the detection purpose or the most movie watched kind of things, we are using the columnar databases. Now there are something called graph data. Now when we are using that graph database or graph store, your LinkedIn accounts, your Facebook accounts, your Twitter accounts, whatever is having the connectivity. Who is connected to whom? You can see your friends. You can see your friends of friends. You can see the mutual friends, right? who is connected to whom. Everything you can see, right? Because they are connected with each other. Same thing, whenever you are searching for the medical store nearby me, so you will get a multiple options, because in the backend, this data is stored in the graphical structure. Always we can't put each and everything in the column and keys and values. So we need to add the data in the form of connectivities as well. So your organization structure. So who is reporting to whom? So these are the things are also there for the connectivities. So to store these kind of values, we have a Gremlin. We have Neo4j. So those are the multiple things we have. Multiple databases are around us. No SQL databases are there. Now, how to choose is our part. If I'm working with the document, I need to go for the MongoDB. If I'm working with the columnar, I can go for the Cassandra. Graphical database, I can go for the Gremlin or the Neo4j. But now, the thing is, we are here talking about the Cosmos database. So our main goal is a Cosmos database. So how I can say that Cosmos database is a part of document store or the columnar store or the graph store or the SQL. What is the Cosmos database? So Cosmos, its name implies that this is a universe. Cosmos database will stay on top of each and every database. It means Cosmos database don't have its own identity like a water. So if you are mixing that water with anything else, it will take the features of that. So like that. So Cosmos database also, you can create a Cosmos database with document DB. It will act as a MongoDB. You can create a Cosmos for the columnar store. It acts as a Cassandra. You can create a Cosmos with Gremlin. It acts as a Gremlin. You can even use that Cosmos database to create a SQL. It acts as a SQL. Then if it is acting as other databases, then what is the purpose of creating the Cosmos database? So the purpose behind the scene is feature. So the Cosmos database have 5 features and no other databases are having that feature. So if you want to add that feature on top of your databases, you can create the databases with the Cosmos DB. Now, what are all the features we have? So that part, just first of all, let's create a Cosmos DB. So to create a Cosmos database, you need to create first an account. Now to create account, you need to choose whether you want to create a NoSQL, which is a SQL database with the Cosmos, or you want to create a document DB with the Cosmos, or you want to create a graphical database with the Cosmos, or columnar database, which is a Cassandra, or you can also create a Postgre with Cosmos. Now let's select NoSQL, simple SQL database with Cosmos, and then create it. Now, once you are creating it, first of all, understand why you need that workload. So maybe you are doing it for the development or testing or the production. Now we are doing the learning. So learning means it's a low cost, easy setup and quick understanding of Cosmos database. So I can go for this. Now over here, this is my subscription. We need to choose our resource group. And here we have the account name. So I can just put the account name as Cosmos Neo account. Right? Cosmos Neo account, any name. Here you need to choose your location. So right now I don't want any availability zone here. I will go for this location or I can go for the central US itself, right? Now here, again, there are 2 options. One is a provision throughput, one is a serverless. Now, if I'm selecting serverless, these options will gone. So if I'm selecting serverless means it's a serverless only. If I'm using provision throughput, then it will give me that auto scaling feature. Now, here there are two options. See here, apply free tier. So if this is your Cosmos database and this is the only one Cosmos database, I'm not saying that this is the first Cosmos database. No, it is the only one Cosmos database in your account. Then you can take advantage of free tier. So the first 1000 RUs per seconds are free of cost. You can go beyond that. So if you are going beyond that, you need to pay for it. And first 25 GB storage is free of cost, right? If you want to apply it, apply. If you don't want to apply, don't apply. After that, do you want to limit that 1000 RUs per second only for the provision throughput? Cancel it. I don't want. So I can go for it. So for this one, I will not specifically going with the serverless because I want to show you what is the provision throughput, right? And how it works. Now, once we are done, here we have the global distribution. Either you can enable it from here, either you can enable it after some time. Networking, we have backup policies. So whenever there is a storage, Microsoft is doing that redundancies. By default, local redundant storage. If you want to go beyond that, Azure application, you can go for Azure redundant storage. If you want to take a backup, by default, backups are there. You need to just take decision whether you want to take a backup periodically, continuous, or 30 days, like that, right? And here you can just specify the intervals and the retention, but backup has to be there. Security, nothing for that, and then review and create it. So let's create. Okay, validation failed. What was that? Location not available for the resource document DB. All right, let me just go back, and instead of this one, I'll go with this one. And then we check. It is saying something like that. Is West Central US, North Central US, Central US. So we need that only, right? We are looking for the locations. Learning, then we have this day 5, account name, New Cosmos, like this, locations. Region access request, because this is my new subscription. So maybe I need to go for region access request. Let me load this. I don't want this one, disable only. So if we can go for this, the page is not available. All right, let's wait now. Okay, now West US 2 is coming. Great. So here I will see that new Cosmos. Okay, West US 2 is fine for me. I'll go with serverless. I don't want to add anything on this. And then let me just hit on create. Okay, perfect. All right, so it will work in the backend. Now let's talk about what features we have. So first feature is global replication. Global replication, that is the major part of the Cosmos database. Now, why? Because if you want to replicate, suppose this is an Amazon application. Amazon is worldwide famous, right? Netflix, worldwide famous, right? So the applications who needs to be accessed by multiple region to reduce the latency. So if I'm sitting over here in an India location, and the server is only present in the East US location, then the distance is very high, and the data, whatever we are accessing the data, it will take some time to replicate it over here as well. To get the data, I need to spend some time, right? So this is what kind of a latency, the distance. So if that information is near to my location, the latency will decrease, right? And the speed will increase. So if I want to reduce the latency and increase the speed of it, then for the other database, what we need to do? We need to create multiple databases in multiple regions. We need to put a load balancer in front of them, right? Like this, and then that users will access it. So we need to write the policies and all, each and everything. But here, if you are using the Cosmos database, global replication is the feature. Means what? If my primary database, let's say my primary database right now is inside the West US region, right? If I want to replicate the data in India location, let's say Central India, if I want to replicate the information or my database to East US, to Southeast Asia, or any region, suppose let's say in the Central India or in East US region, there are 3 zones. I wanted to replicate a single copy on each zone as well. That is also possible. It is just kind of a one click. That's it. You don't need to provision your load balancer. You don't need to put any kind of policies, routing, networking, nothing. It is a feature of the Cosmos database, which is global replication. So you can create a multiple replicas worldwide. So all the map is there. So you just need to select your which region you want, which region you want to spread across the zones, everything. And here on the primary region, we have the read and write permission. Suppose you want to enable the write permission from everywhere. Suppose Facebook. On Facebook, users are using it from multiple regions, right? All over the regions. And they want the permission to write something onto that. Give the permission to write. Not only read, you can give the permission to write as well. Multi-region write. So this is a simple one, and within a one click itself, you can create these things, right? So this is one of the feature of Cosmos DB. Another feature, because of this global replication, now I'm accessing that data not from the West US, I'm accessing it from the India location only, my nearest location. That's why we are having, you will get the data within 10 milliseconds. You will get your data within a 10 millisecond. This is your another feature. Because of the replication, availability increases to 99.999%, right? And here another feature is there is a backend server managed completely by Microsoft. So you don't have the access on the backend server. You don't have access on anything. So the scaling part is on request units. The scaling part is on request unit, and Microsoft is only taking care of the rapid scaling. So you don't need to put any policies for it, rules for it, nothing. You just put everything on the Microsoft and Azure will do each and everything for you. Now, what is mean by the request units? So whenever we are accessing anything from database or from any application, In the backend, there is a database, right? So whenever you are accessing anything, it counts in terms of uploads and downloads. So you are using your internet every day, you will be having some package of unlimited or maybe 1 GB per day, 2 GB per day kind of, right? If you watch any movie, it means you are downloading the content. If you are adding some data onto that, if you are uploading something, it is uploading. It means in the backend, everything is calculated in terms of the bytes, bits and bytes, right? And you are utilizing that particular data. So if from the internet, either you are collecting the information, uploading, downloading, whatever, writing, reading, maintaining, whatever you are doing it, deleting that, if you reaches to 1 KB, if you are utilizing 1 KB of data of Cosmos database, it is calculated as 1 RU, right? If you query something, if you read something, if you delete something, if you update something, whatever, if reaches to that 1 KB, it is calculated as a 1 RU, right? So like that RUs, if you observe that 1000 RUs per second we have, right? 1000 RUs multiplied by 1 KB is your per second data. So you can access a huge amount of information from the Cosmos database at a single point of time in a second, right? So this is one of the feature, and the fifth feature is consistency level. Again, there are 5 consistency level. Now, what are that 5 consistency level? Let's go for the Cosmos database and then understand it. So this is my Cosmos database. Now, once you are creating the Cosmos database, first of all, what you need to do? You need to create account, right? Once you create an account, inside that account, you can create a database or databases. Within that database, you can create containers or containers. And within that container, you can create item or items. You can create item, store procedure, user-defined function, whatever you want, you can create it. Now, container database is nothing but a database. Simple. Container, you can just take it as a table, right? And inside that table, we are having the item like a rows, your data, information, rows. So it is nothing but your item. So if you are changing it, see here, those are the APIs. If you are creating the document DB, this naming convention will change. If you are using the column store or the graph DB, then these naming conventions will change. Okay. So container becomes something like different naming conventions, and item becomes different naming convention, like that.
Ma'am,
Yes.
container we consider as one single table.
Yes. Over here, we are consider it as a table,
Table.
right?
Yeah.
So as per the API, the naming convention will change.
Okay.
Okay. Now, once we are done, so let's get started with our Cosmos DB, right? So here we have the data explorer. First of all, we need to get inside the data explorer. From there, we can work with our Cosmos DB. So I will close this and see here. Microsoft gives you all kind of a quick starts as well. Launch quick start. If you don't know how to work with that, you can just go through that. If you want to create a new container, if you want to use the sample gallery templates and all, you can go for it. Connect. If you want to connect with the other services like Synapse Analytics and all, you can go for it. Now, here, what is the hierarchy? First of all, we need to create a database and then we can create a container. But here in the hierarchy, we can also directly go for the container. It will first of all ask you for the database, right? If it is there, go for it. If it is not there, first of all, database has to be there. Now let's go with the flow. So this is my database. Now in that here, you can see that provision throughput is also there, right? So suppose for example, I'm just putting the database as DB1, right? So I'm just putting it like this, DB1. And then here there is one option of provision throughput. Now, what is mean by that provision throughput? So let's discuss that point first. So inside the capacity mode, we have provision throughput and we have serverless. Now, what is mean by provision? Provision means you are blocking that RUs. It means you want your, what I can say, reserving your RUs per second, right? So in provision, there is one option for manual and option for auto scale, right? Now, in manual means you are reserving that number of RUs per seconds. If you are reserving it, it means you need to pay for it, right? So if you are saying that, or if you are predicting that, okay, so this application is for the banking application or the stock market kind of things. So that much data per second we required for sure, right? So here, suppose I am saying that I need 4000 RUs per second. If I'm saying that I need 4000 RUs per second for sure, it means I'm paying for 4000 RUs continuously. No matter what, sometimes what happens, so graph will go like this. So let me just do like this. So sometimes graph will go like this. Sometimes it will go down as well. So in this particular time period, so less number of users are using it, right? So the demand is less. Here the demand is high. So here we are utilizing completely, but here the demand is less. Now here the demand is less, then also we are paying for it 4000 RUs per second continuously because you have reserved it, right? It is available for you only. So if you want to do the cost optimization, so the scenario is if you know that many RUs per second you required for sure, you can go for the manual one. But if you want to do the cost optimization, then what will happen? If I'm saying that 4000 RUs per second, then it will start from 10% of 4000 RUs. It means 400 RU per second. It means you need to continuously pay 400 RU per second. No matter what you are using it or not. If sometimes what happened, no one is accessing it. For that particular time period also, at least you need to pay 400 RUs per second. Now, like this, graph will go like this. Sometimes it will go like this and so on. So at that moment, till this you need to pay, right? 400 RUs. If you need more than that, then this scaling part will done by Microsoft. Microsoft will increase the number of RUs. Microsoft will decrease the number of RUs for you. And over here, Microsoft will charge for 400 RUs, no matter what you are using it or not. Again, from here onwards, Microsoft will increase the number of RUs for you. So like that. So Microsoft will take the scaling part in and out after that 10% of your total number of RUs, and then Microsoft will charge. So the value depends on this to this 400 RUs per second to 4000 RUs per second. So this is when you know about that, okay, this is an online shopping website. Sometimes users will not access it, maybe in the midnight or something like that. So for that, if you want to do the cost optimization, you can go for auto scaling. But let's say unpredictable data, Facebook, Twitter, don't know when someone use, when someone not use. I don't know about it. So I can't predict the future and all. What is my provision? How much I can provision? I don't know anything. If I'm saying that, okay, 4000 RU per second, but sometimes what happened, many users are accessing it at the same time. So it might happen, it will go beyond that limit. So I can't predict my future, or I can't predict that how many number of RUs I need. At that moment, you can go for the serverless. So serverless will start from the zero, and Microsoft will charge if you are accessing it, Microsoft will increase, Microsoft will decrease till 0. Again, Microsoft will increase and decrease. And whatever you are utilizing, that much only Microsoft will charge. So that is what the serverless provision throughput, right? Now, how to set up that provision throughput? So from here, you can set up that. If you are not selecting it, it is a serverless. If you are selecting it and you are saying that this is a manual one, and you can just put that 4000 RU per second, see here, this is your costing. Confirm costing. You are using it or not. This much you need to pay. If you are using that auto scaling for 4000 RUs, right? 4000 RUs, right? So the value will vary from 400 to 4000. See here, 70% to 700, $70 to $700. Now this is a costing per region. This is your costing per region, or it is saying that for 2 regions, this is a costing. If you are increasing the number of replications, if you remember, there is option of replications, global replication. So right now we have this one copy. For 2 regions, the value is $70 to $700. If I'm increasing the replications, I want more replications. The per region, it will multiply with that RUs, right? So whatever the value is there right now, if you are increasing the number of region, it will multiply with that region, number of region, right? So I'm okay with that. And then let's go for 1000 RU only. I just don't want to spend too much on that. 1000 is also too much for me. So I can just go for it and create your database. Now, once we create the database, we'll create a container. And side by side, let me just open my Azure portal. Okay, so see here, we are having our database. Now on this, you can create a container. Either you can create a container from here or here. Okay. Now existing container database is this container ID. I can say that I wanted to store the employee details. This is my table name. Partition key is important. Now I'm choosing partition key as a city, right? You can also add the hierarchical partition keys. Now, first of all, let's understand what is the partition key. Now, let me just create it and then we'll talk about the partition key. Here we also have the option for dedicated throughput. So if you are not enabling it, then this table or this container will take the throughput from my database, which is 1000 RU per second. If you want to specifically put separate RUs for it, then you can go for, suppose I wanted to give the separate RUs for it, provision that 4000 RUs. Actual space for the database one is what? Provisioned 1000. But extra part only for this particular container, I want the separate provision throughput, then also you can do. So right now I'm not doing it. Analytical store, if you want to create a connectivity with your Azure Synapse Analytics, you can just go for it. And then we can just click on OK. Now let's talk about what is partition key. So the partition key will divide your data evenly. So whenever I'm saying that evenly, suppose I have huge amount of data, right? I have a huge amount of data. Let's say there is a library application we are creating. So for the library application, every single book details, we need to keep it in our databases, right? Now, when you are doing that, suppose you want to check for particular let's say particular book title. So when you query it, suppose let's say we have 1000 entries, 1000 books, 1000 books entry inside the database. Who is the what is the name of that book? Then after that we have the publisher, we have the writer, every details are there, right? What is the price of it, everything. Now out of that 1000 books, suppose you want to search for one single book, so you will add the query for it that we are searching for this particular book, right? So to do that, all the information, 1000 books, right? So it will search it from 1000 books. To check, suppose you are standing in the library and someone is asking you, can you please search for this book for me? And you just put, as a librarian, you put randomly all the books. So you can understand that this is very difficult for you as well to search that book, right? Same thing for the database as well. They need to check each and every items from the container, and then they will give you the output. Instead, what you can do, you can divide it into the logical grouping. So there are some categories. So books are also having some categories, maybe fiction, maybe it is kind of biographies, maybe it is kind of something related to the any love stories or anything. So, right? So there are multiple categories. So what you can do, either you can divide it on the level of categories, what kind of categories are there, or either you can just divide it on the level of author, whoever is the writer is there on the level of writer. You can also have the option to divide it on the level of publisher, right? Who is the publishing, right? So there are multiple factors are there that whenever we are creating the database, we need to think first how we can divide our data evenly. So if I can categorize it as per the category, fictions and all these things, biographies and all, then suppose my this particular thing will be having something like that. Here we have 500 books, here 200 books, maybe 150 books. Maybe in another category we have, let's say 200 books like that, right? So this is kind of a even dividation, not a equal dividation. We are dividing it evenly. You can also take a example of publishers. So let's say there are multiple publishers, they are just printing that books, right? If we have only 3 publishers, most of the books are onto that A publisher. Let's say out of 1000 books, 750 books published by one publisher, and remaining 100 are there or 50 are there, we have the another publisher. So this is not the even dividation, right? Even as per the author, as per the author, you are taking the books from multiple writers. So let's say every writer, let's suppose we have 500 writers. In this book section, we have 500 writers, and every writer we have 2 3 books. This is also not a even distribution. So this, as per the category, we can say that this is the even distribution, right? So whenever I am searching for the particular book, that particular book is having the category. So that particular book is related to the biography. That particular book is related to the short stories. So as per the category, I will not search for this, all these things. Whatever the category is there, I will search from here only. So that is what the partitioning, that is what the partition key. So you need to fix your partition key before you are creating the container. Even and inside that partition, we have tables again. Inside the partition, we have tables. So those are different tables. So here we have the ID, whatever the informations are there over there, you can just put that, and then you can just add 1 2 3 4 like that. So those are our items inside that, right? Inside that also, if you are thinking that, okay, those are 500, so it's too much. So I want to again categorize it in subcategories. I wanted to just create it as a subcategory. Maybe it is kind of a publishers or kind of things. So that is what the partition under partition, right? So I will not go to that level. Just understand what is a partitioning key. Is this clear what is meant by the partition key? Even dividation. Yes? Is this clear, team?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Now, another thing. Let's go for the next part. As per the employee. So I'm just taking one example of I have multiple employees and we have one organization and we have multiple offices in different cities. So I just want to create the database as per the city count, right? So let's go for that. And now over here we have that, and let's go for the items. Now this is my ID, this is my city. Now if I want to add item on that, so what I can do, ID, I can just put it like one ID. City, I need to put the city as Pune. Let me just do it like this. Okay, after that, comma, I need to add the name, right? Name is, I will say that any name, I can just take it. I will take my name itself. All right. Okay. Done. I'm working in IT department. So I'm just putting that department. And the department is IT. So like that. So that's it for me, right? So what I can do, let me just copy that all information because we need it for our next part as well. Multiple entries, I wanted to do the multiple entries. Now let's say this is my department, this is the name, and this is something kind of I wanted to add for my table. Now, once you add this much information, Cosmos database will add some more details as well. So let's suppose I'm just click on save. So you can see here, it will create a row ID to recognize it. It will create a self, it will create a tag, e tag. So e tag is the one whenever I'm making the changes, if I edit it, so that e tag will change. So this e tag will used for the change log purpose. Suppose for example, this is an online shopping website. Today, the value of that product is 1000. Tomorrow someone has made the changes on it, so 1000 to 1500 kind of things. So we are editing that information. Once you edit the information, it will change the e tag and it will trigger your main page that something is changed with this particular information, with this particular product details, and you need to publish it, right? Timestamp we also have, right? So these are the things are there. Now let's suppose I wanted to add one more item. So let me just go for it. Where is that new item? So this is the new SQL query and that's it. Okay, let me just add it like this. Yes, new item. So if I want to add a new item, let me just paste it. Instead of Pune location, I can go for Delhi. I will go for Delhi location. And there is also one employee named Chetna. There is one employee, the same employee is working in IT department. Okay. In city or in same table or in everywhere, we are having that, right? So you can just save this. Once you save it, you can add one more item on it. Now, within partition, The ID is very, very important. So see here, the ID is 1 in Pune, the ID is 1 in Delhi. But if I'm putting this ID 1 in Pune location by changing the name, see here, instead of Chetna, I will say that Chris, right? Now Chris is working in, let's say, HR department, right? If I'm saying like this and then save it, it will throw the error. Why? Because within a partition, you can't use the same ID for it. So it is an identical number. So you need to make the changes on it, right? And then you can save. That is okay, right? Now, once we are done, what we can do? We can go for the SQL query. I can go for it and then I can just execute the query. I wanted to check all the entries. See here, I want to check all the entries. So there are 3 entries. Even you can just use your SQL query to check only the employees from the Pune location or from the Delhi location. You can do that, right? And over here you can see that query stats. And over here you can see that 2.29 RUs. It utilizes 2.29 RUs. What we did? We just collected the information from the database. Read. To read your complete data, 3 entries, you need 2.29 RUs per second, right? So like that, you can create your items. Even you can create your store procedures. Store procedures, why we need? If you want to perform some actions multiple times, let's say you have some data and you want to perform the actions on it, or you want to query, or you want to create something like that, and you want to do these things continuously on your data, then you can write your JSON script with your what we can say procedure, and then put it over here, and then you can just run it. That's it. Then we also have the user defined function. User defined function is the one where we can filter out. So let's say these are my employees and I wanted to collect the information. Those have the salary more than 20 LPA. So those kind of functions we have. So you can just add that user defined and store it over there. We also have the pre-trigger and post-trigger. Pre-trigger to check all the entities are in place or not. If suppose there is, it will check for the timestamp. If that timestamp is not there, it will add that. So like that, there is a pre-trigger. Post-trigger is to add the metadata. So out of that, okay, we have that. Let me just go back. Okay, let's go for the employee details items, right? So out of these things, let's suppose here these are the values, right? Entities and all these things are there. Suppose I wanted to add more. Let's say tag. I wanted to attach a tag. So you can add the post trigger for that. So with these all things, it will also carry a tag for it. So those are the things we have in a place how we can work with your databases. If you're using a MongoDB, you can have the different structure over here. As we are using the SQL inside the NoSQL, so we are having this kind of a structure. Okay. Now the major part is features. And then here we have the replicas. So here you can see that replicas. You just need to select which region you want to replicate. Any region. Any region. You can see that down. So these are the regions who are having the availability zones. So if you want to replicate over there, you can do that. If you want to add the multi-region rights, you can do that as well, right? Right now I'm not doing it, otherwise it will increase the costing for me, but simple. Save it and then you will be having that. See here, bill. Your bill will be having the additional charge. Okay, whatever your regions are there. So it will be calculated as per your number of regions and the replicas. right? Now, once you are ready with this, there are also options for the failover policy configuration. Failover means what? If my primary region got failure, then which region you wanted to be as a secondary region. So you can choose that. Okay? Just a minute, a team. Wait a minute. Okay, so these we have the option. So you can also create your failover regions as well. That policies also you can do. Now, the last part which we have is the consistency. If you remember, there is a consistency. Let me just discard these changes and let's go for the consistency. By default, we are having the consistency of a session. And we have 5 consistency levels, which is strong, bounded stillness, consistent prefix, and eventual one. And you can see here the graph. So let's suppose if I'm going for the strong consistency level, my primary region is a West US2 region, from where I'm adding that entries, right region, as well as this will be my read region. And let's say, suppose I have 2 more regions for the replication purpose, Central US and the West Central US. Now, consistency means what? How the users or the customers are getting the data. How the customers are reading that information. Let's suppose there is one application, we have the database for stock market. Let's say we have the information for stock market or banking. Suppose for the stock market, some information is changed. So let's say the major database is present in the East US region. Customers or the users are from multiple regions, maybe from the India location, maybe from the Southeast Asia location, maybe from the let's say West US location, right? So they are from multiple location, they are accessing that information. Now here we already have the replications, right? Now, when we are making the changes over here, whenever there is a write happened, then the East US region person can read the data. You will think about that. Okay, whenever there is a change, first who can read that data? The user from the East US, because there is no latency, minimum latency. To travel that right information to the India location, Southeast Asia location, or the West US location takes some time because there is a distance, right? So you can say that, okay, whenever there is a write happen on the India location, Southeast Asia and West US, they will get the data for read purpose. No, this won't happen. Stock market information or the critical information or the critical applications where we need to maintain that all users or the consistency says that no matter what, you are near to the main location or you are far from that location, you will get that information at a single point of time, right? So whenever we are writing the information, no matter what, when you are writing that information, but how every user is reading that information is very, very important. They should get that read at a single point of time. So if you are sitting in the East US location, West US, Southeast Asia or India, doesn't matter. So you will read that information at a single point of time only. So that is what the consistency. Now how? So if you are using the strong consistency level, when there is a write happened, that it will trigger to add that information on each and every replications. So once it is going for the replication, it will also send you the acknowledgement. Every region will send back the acknowledgement. So once the primary region got all the acknowledgement, then it will release for read. Then it will release that data for read. So at the same moment, east to west, all the users from multiple regions can read that information. That is what the strong consistency level. Okay. So here we have the strong consistency level, right? See here. The read operation will be at the same point of time. So it is it is really very quick. So it will not take too much time. So your all the latencies and all in the milliseconds only, right? So everything will be happening at the same point of time. But sometimes what happen, it will take some time. So what I can do, I will go for the bounded stillness. Bounded stillness means what? You can specify the counter. Okay, let me just go over here again. Bounded stillness means what? To get the acknowledgement and all these things, there are some, it is kind of a complicated structure. Instead of that, what I can do, I can write the data. And once I write it, to read that, I will put a gap of 5 seconds. So whenever you are writing that information, let's say at 10 a.m., right? Everyone can read that information at 10:05 a.m. like that. So you can put a space on that. So you can see that there is a gap whenever we are watching that match on the OTT platform and the DTH. There is a gap. So this is kind of a bounded stillness. You can just put it over there and then you will get that users who are using that application, they will get that read options after 5 seconds. So you can go up to 5 seconds. You can just start from the seconds to the one complete day, 24 hours. You can add that, right? So this is what the bounded stillness. Then we have a session. Session means what? If you are online, you will get the data at the same moment. If you are offline, it is kind of a eventual consistency level, right? Your what we can say, your tracking apps, health apps are there, right? So if you are using it, it means you are getting into that, right? So you are continuously checking your number of steps. So if you are online, you will get to know about that. Okay, the write has happened. You completed the 10 step, 2 step, 3 step kind of things. You will get the counter on it, right? It means you are online. If you are not using that application, if this is closed application, then what will happen? In the backend, it will calculating the counts. It will calculating the steps. But when you will get that? When you go again online. So that is what the session. So if you are going for the session consistency level, if you are online in the session, you will get the strong consistency level. If you are not in the session, like a session B, you will get the eventual consistency levels. Okay. Now here, the thing is time, and another thing is order. So see here, red, then we have purple, blue, then purple and black and kind of things. So everyone will get it in the same order, right? No matter what, there is a delay, but still it will get it in the same order at least, right? But here in the consistent prefix, we are completely compromising with the time. Take your time. So do the writes, and once you read is anytime. So whenever the users are present over here, they are just getting that information, they will read it. It might happen because of the latency. Central West US needs some time to replicate the data. Okay. For Central US, it is getting more time to replicate the data. Okay. So here we are compromising with the time part. So whoever is the user from multiple region, they will get it as per their convenience. Okay, whenever there is a replication happened, they will get that. But whatever they will get, it is in the correct order only, right? But over here, there is an eventual consistency level. Eventual consistency level means we are compromising with the time as well as with the this one order. Your Facebook account, inside your Facebook account, there is like button. You don't need to worry about that. Who like first, who like second, or like that. There are reviews. So for the product, there are some reviews. So who did the first review, who did the second review, doesn't matter. Maybe there is something like a post and someone wants to post something on that. Who post first, who post second? No, not required. So this is kind of a thing where we can use the eventual consistency level, and your pricing for the Cosmos DB is also depends on the consistency levels. Number of RUs, how many number of regions you are using, and what kind of a consistency you are using. So by default, we are using the session consistency level, but you can choose as per your requirement of your application, right? So this is what we have in the Cosmos database. Is this clear? What is meant by the Cosmos DB? Any questions till that?
No,
Okay, perfect. Now what we can do, it's 1:30 near about. So let's not go for the other parts. Let's stop here itself because we need to complete other factors. Let me just show you this. So we are done with the Cosmos database. We are done with the SQL database as well. But we need to also talk about what is meant by the data factory, data lake, Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics, Stream Analytics. We also need to talk about the Fabric. Though it is a high level overview, I will not spend too much time on that. But still, it will be a too much for the day, right? So today, whatever we learn, storage account, SQL database, and the Cosmos database, I guess that is sufficient for the day. What you say?
yes, today it's already overloaded.
I will give you little. I will not bombard with each and everything. All right, so let's go for it. And now the lab part. Lab part, what we need to do? Storage account. We need to go for the storage account lab AZ104. So this is your lab number 7 that you need to finish. After that, there is one more case study for 305, lab number 3, lesson plan number 3. You need to complete the case study. I guess I have already shared all the links with you, right? For the participant who had joined today itself, let me give you that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. See, all the things are available online. It's an open source. So if you want the content for AZ104, you can just search for exam, right? So this is the content for AZ104. You will get all the modules. So today we have finished storage account. So you can just search for the storage account from here. Monitor, compute, manage storage. See here, this is the one, right? So you will get all the details from here, whatever we have covered today. And let me just share this link again with you. Where is that chat window? Okay, this is for 104. After that, we can go for 305. Same thing. Just search for 305 exam. Just put exam, sorry, 5 exam, and that's it. So this is the link for 305 learn documents. Those are the learn documents. This is for 305. Okay. So those who joined today, they also need to go for 900 basics, right? So I can go for this one, and this is the document for learning. Okay. So there are two things. One is for learning and another one is for labs. Now, instead of exam, just replace that exam with GitHub labs. That's it, right? So you will get that labs. Now over here, let me just give you that lab for 104, right? So this is your 104 lab. And if sometimes if you don't know about how to perform that lab, you can just go for the interactive lab simulations as well. Okay. And this is the link. Let me just give you that link. Control C. And then over here. And you need to link to this labs here, HTML format. So you are here, you will get all these things. So here you need to complete lab number 7 today. This is done. Now after that, what we need? 305. 305 is not having that instruction labs. You don't need to do perform anything onto that. It is case study basis. So in that 305, you will get all the case studies. Okay, and this is the link for it. I need to take this call. Just a minute, team. Okay, so these are all the links we have. Also, in the WhatsApp group, I will share the link for today's recording. And with that link only, you will get all the recordings from day one itself. All right, so this is it for today. And another thing that we need to discuss, have you created the architecture diagram for first lab 305? No, right? So what you can do, let me just do one thing. First of all, delete that resource group. Otherwise it will.
Ma'am, is that lab accessible for everyone?
These are the open source labs.
Okay.
Instructions are there. You need the subscription.
Okay.
Okay. And I already given you that option to go for the pay-as-you-go account. If someone don't have the credit card or they are not able to create anything on that subscriptions and all, they can ping me separately your name. That's it. I need your name. I will send you that username and password, but that will be the restricted access. Okay. Restricted and limited access.
Okay, so can we able to perform this
Huh.
hands-on on from their account?
Yes,
That
yes.
restricted?
You can
Okay.
perform that, but restricted. It means you don't have the complete whole control on it.
Okay.
And also you need to delete it. So deletion of the resource group is really very important. So you need to delete that resource group. Otherwise it will just increase the costing of it. And this is no use. It is like that, right? All
Okay.
right, so this part is also done. And here, let me just go for this Outlook account, and we have OneDrive. Okay, so I have given you the access on this batch, right? Here you will get all the recordings. And I also need to track your lab submissions as well. So what we can do, I have already given the access on this. You can create your own folders and just put the screenshots of it. And whenever you are preparing the architecture, just put that architecture diagram over there, right? so I can track that things, or else if you are having any questions related to that, we can discuss it. All right.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you show me where we can create this diagram? Because I'm not in the
Anywhere.
last.
You can just write it on the paper as well, or draw it on your paint or anywhere. That is fine. See,
But
there is
what
a
we need to
scenario.
create?
You need to create an architecture diagram. What kind of a services you want. That's it. For example, this is my exam. We just go for GitHub Labs. See here, this is a scenario. So let me go for this case study and compute solution. So this is scenario. So what kind of web server you are using? Can you go for the web application, or do you want to go for the containers or virtual machine? What is your choice for this? What is your choice for this one? So just draw one any block and then write it down. That's it. And then
Okay.
we'll discuss. So this should manage, or this should what we can say, match this requirement. So read it properly, understand it. What will the front end web application, what will be the middle tier, what services we can use for the middle tier and the front end tier. So these things only we need. So if you have any questions related to that, just let me know. Okay. All right. So for example, there is a storage, non-relational storage. So today we have the non-relational storage. So see here, you have the media files, marketing literatures and corporate documents. So what kind of things you want, you can recommend. See here, those are the things you need to design. What factor will you consider in your design? What can be your blob access tier? Will you use the immutable storage or not? So these are the things that you need to think, and then you need to come up with your idea. Okay. I hope this is clear. Yes, team, a quick confirmation. Team, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So let me stop the recording.